Transfer fees up. Season tickets up. High prices up. Why the bloomin' heck are you still up?
Do you know what time it is?
Topical sporting debate worth staying awake for. The Two Mikes.
All night long.
On Talk Sport.
All night long. You can have a relationship with a horse. So she really loves... No, not like that, you idiot. What's the most famous thing that ever came out of Denmark?
I don't know. Hans Christian Andersen.
No, bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah. They were the first people to realise that you could turn a pig into a bacon sandwich. Vote for Putin in the election.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes and we're keeping you entertained throughout the night. Tonight, we are celebrating one of the worst weekends of sport in Mike Parry's history. Absolutely nothing went right for the Pork-liceman, starting with Raheem Sterling scoring his 6th goal for Manchester City, but from then on, things just went from bad to worse.
It's Everton 2, West Ham 1, and it's Mikel Antonio who's got the goal. It's the equaliser. Everton 2, West Ham 2. Everton 2, West Ham 3. Dimitri Payet has got possibly the winning goal. He's gone to celebrate right in front of the hammered supporters, and what a turnaround. 2-0 down, and Everton missed a penalty, and all of a sudden West Ham in the 90th minute have taken the lead.
As if all of that goodness and drama wasn't enough, Liverpool won as well thanks to a controversial penalty, and Porky's favourite tennis player Maria Sharapova has now been exposed as a drugs cheat. What a way to start a week. 08717 223344. Coming up on the show, we've got winners and losers. It's 5-4 to me in that as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport.
Now, it was a wondrous sight. He said, I must arrest you. He didn't know what for. And then he started laughing until he cracked his jaw.
Oh dear. I've waited a long time for this show. Seems like days and days have passed. Well, poor old Porky's been lying in his pit in a state of misery. Time to say a very good morning to the world's most unlucky pundit, Mr. Mike Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And you find all that funny, do you? Huh?
I do, actually.
You find
yeah.
all that funny?
I do.
With your minimalist level of intelligence.
Nothing's gone right, has it?
The fact that you don't support a football club means
Nothing's
that you
gone
can't
right.
possibly feel the sort of pain that I feel. I put out an offensive tweet last night about you.
You certainly did, yeah.
And then when
Most
I got
offensive.
When I got a few complaints from some of our joint followers about being a bit mean to you, I withdrew it.
Yeah.
However, I'm reinstating that tweet.
You're reinstating it?
Yeah,
are you?
I am, yeah. And it's not the sort of tweet I would read out on
Well, is
the
that
air.
the one where you call me a fat creep?
No, I called you worse than that.
Yeah, you
And
called me
it's
a
not
fat creep.
It's not the sort of... Did it, fat creep?
That was a bit at the end, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. It's not the sort of thing I
It was
would read
quite
out
upsetting,
on
actually.
the air.
I was sitting there, the bosom of my family,
Because this
thinking,
is-
why am I being attacked by this man?
This is a family show.
It is a family show.
However, I tell you now, I endorse the offence that was contained within that tweet, because that's exactly what you are. I mean, to try and seek succour and comfort and ribald laughter from serious situations which affect the future of football in this country, which affect the career of one of the greatest female tennis players of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And to try and make out that I'm in a pit of misery.
Well, you are in a pit of misery because you predicted that she was going to retire, so you got that wrong as well.
When I am certain that Everton will get through against Chelsea next Saturday evening.
Well, you might say that.
At 5:30 at Goodison
Don't change
Park.
the subject.
That's a game I'm going to because I support Everton. Could you remind the audience of millions, please, who you support?
I don't particularly support anyone.
You don't support anybody, no. So you don't know
I'm
the
a
pain
lover.
and
No,
the joy
I'm a lover of football.
Supporting.
I'm a lover of football, which means that I can be neutral at all times and I can look at things in a forensic manner, which is what my job is to do.
I also want to endorse...
I don't wish to be in any way sort of, one-sided about anything.
I also want to endorse what I have said consistently.
Have you ever taken Meldonium, by the way?
What I've said consistently since that game yesterday, Sunday.
Which
is it
game?
still yesterday? The game on Sunday.
Day before yesterday.
Crystal Palace in Liverpool.
Yeah.
That Benteke was an outrageous simulator. He was not, of course, fouled by the defender behind him.
Did you not issue a tweet that people who did that should be banned for life?
Yes, they should. They should be banned for a long time because that simulation was absolutely dreadful.
What about Ross Barkley?
Ross Barkley is a fine young player.
He has also simulated, though, hasn't he?
Equally, I will condemn wholeheartedly Kevin Mirallas for his simulation. Utterly ridiculous because not only did it expose him as a cheat, which, in my mind, will now stick with him forever. Referees will now know he's a marked man.
It's not the first time he's done it,
It's not the first time he's done it. He's a marked man because he does that. But secondly, he put his own team into an invidious position. I would have brought him off.
It's all very well trying to be reasonable now after spending the weekend hurling abuse my way.
I haven't hurled
just
abuse
for
at
pointing
anybody.
out the odd thing. Because one of the things that I did point out, which was the reason for you lashing out at me in such a terrible way, was simply to tell you what the result was of Everton's season so far.
Yeah.
Played, 28 games? Won 9.
I can read that in the paper. I don't need you to tell me that.
1/3 of their results work.
I don't care. I don't care what you're saying there because at the end it's a focal point of where you go to now in this season, okay? That's all you've got to worry about.
But now, the gulf now has grown, hasn't it, between Liverpool and Everton?
No.
About 5 places.
No, it hasn't. No, there is no gulf. No,
There's a massive gulf.
They're 2 mid-table teams.
Well, they're not,
there is no gulf.
Liverpool are now 7th, so they're knocking on the door of Europe.
They won't get into Europe.
Everton are 12th in the bottom half.
It doesn't matter. They're 2 mid-table teams. If Liverpool get into Europe...
I don't understand what's happened because Liverpool were below Everton for such a long part of the season. They're now 6 points ahead.
The only competition Liverpool will get into this season could be the Europa League. That's not a competition that I'm worried about my club performing in.
Well, don't worry because they're not going to get anywhere near it.
Leicester... you think that's funny as well, do you?
I do.
Very strange sense of humour tonight.
I do.
Leicester have not been in the Europa League this season, and the result of that is that they've had such a clear head and a clear thinking pattern of how they can progress in their challenge to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind who's a fan would want their team to play in the Europa League.
Okay, well, we'll clip that, and so when Everton ever get into it, because it's about the only thing they're ever going to get into at any point, we shall.
So what was your view on the Benteke situation?
My belief is it was a penalty.
Oh, rubbish.
As indeed it
You're
was
only saying that because I said it wasn't from the start.
No, it's not. It's John Hartson's view.
There was no contact.
Is John Hartson not a man who knows about football?
John Hartson is a man who knows about football.
He thinks it was a penalty.
But so is Dermot, the referee, who I saw on...
Oh, you think Dermot knows more about it than John Hartson?
Of course he does.
Really?
He's a referee and he knows exactly how these things work.
I see.
John Hartson is a footballer who will always, because of the position he played, support the role of the attacker.
Mark Lawrence on Match of the Day thought it was a penalty as well.
I don't care what Mark Lawrence thinks.
You don't care?
I don't care what Mark Lawrence thinks.
You don't think he knows about football?
Mark Lawrence is a former Liverpool defender. Who do you think he was going to support in an argument like that?
This is why it's important to be neutral in these matters.
Well,
I don't understand why you get so worked up.
I'm not getting worked up.
It's not even your team.
What do you mean?
Liverpool. It's not your team.
Well, the fact that they got 2 bogus points, bogus points from an act of cheating, which is what it was.
It wasn't cheating.
It was cheating.
You can clearly see the guy's leg being contacted.
People like you, and people who defend that as a penalty, you are responsible for the destruction of football as we know it.
Really?
Because once you take physical contact out of the game, and that was a thumbnail contact between an attacker and a defender.
Yeah, it was still contact.
It was not a penalty issue.
Well, the referee gave a penalty.
It was not even a physical challenge.
Why don't you just get over it?
It was a touch.
But he was travelling at speed. You can have the debate all year.
Rubbish.
The bottom line is
nonsense.
it's time to move on and forget about it instead of dwelling on it and getting all bitter and twisted about it.
I'm only bringing it up because you, in the opener to this show, I agree with you. It should have been done and dusted and dispatched.
It should have been, yeah.
But you, in your infantile manner, in your infantile belief that you could wind me up and get me going,
I know.
Just decided to put it into the pot, didn't you, and stir it round. Yeah, I'll tell you something, pal. You stick it in your pipe and smoke it, all right?
I will in about 45 minutes. What about that Mother's Day card, that hideous Mother's Day card that you bought for £4 at the Co-op?
What's that going to do with you? What's that going to do with
you? Well, you tweeted it out, so I'm afraid I, amongst many of your other 80-odd thousand followers, saw your Mother's Day card. So what it's got to do with me is that you published it.
The reason for that is I still claim to be the man of the people. I think to pay £4 for a card that on any other day of the year would have cost £2 is ridiculous.
When was the last time you bought a card for anyone?
Cards are massively overpriced.
Yeah, well, £4.
You're going to some places, you pay like £6 for a card.
You've just paid 160 quid for a dodgy spare tyre for your £43,000 car.
Well, I needed a tyre. I had no option. But if I'd have shopped around, I'd have got a card for £2 because I think £4 is an awful lot of money to pay for a card. Better cardboard folded over.
I mean,
but
last
anyway,
week you were moaning about paying extra 50p for half a glass of cider.
Was, and I got lots of support on that as well, an awful lot of support.
Now, I want to ask you a serious question.
In fact, it started a national campaign, if you remember.
No, I don't think it did.
It did?
No, it didn't, because the national campaign has been pronounced dead on arrival because everybody's turned around and said we're not going to change the prices. So there goes another campaign down the tubes. Now, serious question for you.
Yeah.
Are you taking meldonium?
No, of course I'm not taking meldonium. I didn't even know what meldonium was.
Well,
I find it extraordinary.
It's used for heart problems.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Well, yes, it is in a way. It's a beta blocker.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a heart problem, then you could say it gives you an extra impetus physically, OK?
It also improves your personality. That's the other reason I thought perhaps you weren't taking it.
I take a tablet called Carvedilol.
Oh, yeah.
And Carvedilol is also a beta blocker.
Yeah.
And I take another one called...
I didn't ask you what you take.
No, I take another
meldonium.
beta blocker. I take 2 beta blockers, actually.
Do you know what else it's used for?
What?
Meldonium.
What?
Alcohol intoxication.
Alcohol intoxication. Why? What, do you mean to treat it?
I think so, yeah.
That's ridiculous. You can't treat alcohol
Well, there
intoxication.
are those who have said, that, isn't it a strange coincidence that Porky's been very quiet on the whole Maria Sharapova thing?
Well, I'm
trying
shocked.
trying to pass it off as her announcement about her retirement. Is it a coincidence that she's Russian? Is it a coincidence that all of these pills are manufactured in the former Eastern Bloc?
Yes.
What do you know about this, and when did you know it?
I don't know anything about it. All I do know is that as Ms. Sharapova earned £21 million last year, she ain't exactly going to be, hanging out the begging bowl if her career is brought to an abrupt halt.
Except that if she won all that money under false pretences, then I don't think that's right.
Well,
since you're so hot on cheats, why are you not demanding that she be stripped of all her titles and stripped of all the money that she's ever made?
Because meldonium was only made a prescribed drug in January of this year.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I know it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is it was not illegal to have ingested it into her body over the previous 10 years, which is what she's been doing since the age of 18.
Her entire career, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shocking state of affairs.
It's a weird story. I mean, how you can earn £21 million a year, not have somebody aboard your sort of background team who doesn't warn you.
She wasn't expected to get caught.
Doesn't warn you. No, I don't think that's the case at all. I'm not suggesting. I don't think she's a cheat. I think she's been let down, really, by people around her. Or she's taken her eye off the ball, one or the other. But if the rules
we'll talk
change,
more about that in a moment.
If the rules change and you're not aware of them, somebody should have made you aware of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
right.
great sympathy for her.
I'm sure you do. Yeah,
yes.
I'm sure you do.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
Victoria Pendleton's riding at Cheltenham on the day we're going.
Poor woman.
What's your
this
problem
is
with
Talk
that?
Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. There's lots going on, of course. We've got winners and losers coming up a little bit later on. It's 5-4 currently to me. And given Porky's weekend, I dare say it might even be 6-4 by the time we're talking this time tomorrow. However, lots of other things going on. Adrian Heath's going to join us as well because, he came back from a 2-0 deficit, his team, with 2-0 down at the weekend.
That's right, yeah.
As MLS started, and they scored in injury time.
Yes, they did.
They got 2 goals.
Yeah, brilliant.
Amazing,
brilliant result.
isn't it?
Yeah, very, very good.
So let's talk about Maria Sharapova, right? Because here's what we know.
Right.
We know that she's been taking this drug, meldonium, for however long it is, right? 10 years is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
We're saying that WADA, the anti-doping agency, announced that it was now on a banned list because they've been monitoring it for a while.
That was in January.
Right? It's only sold, apparently, or made available in Latvia, right?
Right.
And it's popular with Russian athletes,
right?
Apparently. There's been a cyclist banned from using it as well. What she says is that she didn't click on a link. She was sent an email by WADA to say that these are the new banned drugs.
Who?
As of January. WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency.
Right, okay.
Those are the people that control all this stuff.
Yeah.
And what she didn't do, having read the fact that there was now a new list of banned substances, didn't go checking what they were. I just don't believe that. I think that's ridiculous. I can't imagine that under any circumstances, as a professional athlete, that you would not go and get either yourself or somebody else to check what the banned substances are and check that you're not taking anything.
It must be a mistake, because why would she deliberately take something which was banned, which she had been taking for the previous 10 years, but, would in no way be critical to her performance level. It couldn't be.
Well, no, but surely, to goodness, if you're taking something like that, the world of tennis is, I'm sure, awash with all sorts of rumours about drug-taking, match-fixing.
Yeah.
They must talk about it all the time. Somebody must have said to her, by the way, anyone who's been, coming from the Eastern Bloc and who uses this particular drug, you might be aware that WADA have now banned it, or that they're about to ban it.
I totally agree with you in terms that it's gross negligence, but I don't think it's anything more than gross negligence. I will not believe, never, ever, ever will I believe that Ms. Sharapova is a cheat. I just don't believe it.
Well, she is, though.
No, she's not.
Well, she's admitted she is.
No.
She is an admitted drugs cheat.
No, she's admitted that she put herself in a position where she can now be branded as a cheat, but she did not deliberately cheat.
Well, that's not...
It was negligence and oversight.
No, sorry. I mean, ignorance is no excuse.
I totally agree.
And so therefore, if she gets banned for 2 years or 4 years, I think she's finished.
Oh, well, she's finished. She's 28 now. How can you be banned for 2 years from competitive tennis at that level and come back and hope to possibly match the what will then be the new breed or new brand or new intake of young tennis players coming through? No way can she. It's over. It's finished. Well, unless they're very lenient. I think I had picked up somewhere tonight that bans of as short as 9 months have been imposed for this sort of offence. So if it was 9 months, that's just like one playing season, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
but she'll never really recover from this, I don't think.
No, I think you're right. But
also, if she's not allowed to, and also, who knows, if she's not allowed to take this stuff, maybe she won't be any good.
Yeah.
That's the other thing to consider.
No,
because if it's a performance-enhancing drug, she's basically spent her entire career operating with a performance-enhancing drug in her system.
Yeah, but
she's won everything based on that.
But it hasn't been specified as career as performance enhancing until 2 months ago.
But my point is that it is now, and they were monitoring it for a while. Well, so what it proves is that she's been using a performance enhancing drug, whether it was illegal or not.
How do we know other tennis players haven't been taking it?
Well, we don't. That's not the issue.
Exactly.
We're talking about her.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're talking about her. So therefore, she has been using a performance enhancing drug for her entire career.
I mean.
I think you should now dispose of her as your heroine of the tennis world.
No, I'm not fickle towards people like that who make mistakes. Now, the point is that I believe her career was in decline anyway. I mean, it's overwhelmingly clear now she can't beat Serena Williams. I mean, she's tried, 13 times.
Yeah. I think she's beaten her once, hasn't she? In 13.
No, I think she beat her twice at the start of her career and hasn't beaten her since, in about 13 times since or something like that. So once you know that you can't overcome the person who's better than you might as well give up anyway, because you're not going to win anything. You'll always have to come up against that person.
Well, yeah, but as you said, I mean, last year when she didn't beat Serena Williams, she made 21 million.
Well,
it's not a bad way to come second, is it?
The figures are absolutely astonishing. The top 5 earning sportswomen of last year, 2015... Maria Sharapova, £20.9 million. Yeah. And then Serena Williams, who is immensely more successful than her as a tennis player, both throughout her career and certainly through 2015, 16.9 million.
Yeah.
And that's because...
That's not just prize money, that's everything, right?
That's everything.
Yeah.
That's everything, yeah. And that's because, exactly, because I'm just going to explain to you, that's because Ms. Sharapova is so photogenic, she is the darling of the sports camera around the world.
Yeah.
Serena Williams, who is a better tennis player and a more successful tennis player, earns more money in prize money, but cannot attract the sort of endorsement money, the millions and millions and millions of pounds that Miss Sharapova earns, because she is, of course, a Slavic beauty.
Yes.
And Slavic beauties
Well, she's Russian.
Well, exactly. That's the same thing.
She's not a Slav, is she?
Well, she's...
I think technically there's a difference.
I think you're probably right. OK, and she's a Russian beauty, Dan. We can say that. And that makes her... an incredibly valuable property in the world of promotions and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
She was, in fact, born in Nyagan.
Nyagan?
Yeah, Nyagan.
Sounds Japanese.
No, it's in Russia. But it is...
Is it Eastern Russia?
Yes, of course it is. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I described her as
Siberia
Slavic.
way.
Yes,
well, maybe
absolutely.
she can return to Siberia.
Yeah, well, I doubt it. She certainly won't be returning to a salt mine, put it that way.
No, I don't think so.
No,
exactly. Would you like me to read you a few tweets?
Yes,
you've got loads of them coming in.
Yes, good, because I have garnered a lot of support for my very firm stand on the Benteke situation, my very firm stand on the Maria Sharapova situation. And
what's your firm stand on Maria Sharapova?
Well,
that she's not a cheat. Brilliant.
Well, no.
You just said she's not a cheat.
I think you have to give her immense credit for standing up tonight and actually admitting to the world she's made a terrible mistake.
She's taken the view that it's better for her to announce it than everybody else.
Well, yeah, that takes courage.
No, it doesn't.
Not a lot of people stand up in front of the world's cameras and say, look, I've made this terrible mistake.
That's called trying to head...
Read out some tweets. Come on, get on with it.
That's about trying to head people off at the pass.
Stop obfuscating.
All right, Steve says this. I think Porky's been taking Red Bull. Red equals red face bull, which he comes out with. Here's one from Tom who says, Parry's logic. Taking drugs isn't cheating, but getting fouled in the box is a ban for life.
Well, I didn't say it was a ban for life. You put words in my mouth there. I think it. I think
you said it on a tweet over the weekend. Anybody diving should be banned from playing football for life.
Well, I'm telling you what. Anybody who simulates to that extent should be subject of severe punishment, in my view.
Paul says, I think Mr. Parry is still feeling the effects of bladderation from Portsmouth this weekend.
What?
Were you in Portsmouth this weekend?
9. Oh, hang on. Was I? Let me think. Sorry. Yes, I was.
There were people on Twitter who said they spotted you.
No.
Yeah, they did.
Really?
Yeah.
In Portsmouth?
In Portsmouth, yeah.
On when?
I think it might have been Friday night or Saturday, I'm not sure.
I was out in Portsmouth on Friday, that is true.
Were you out on Friday night?
Well, it depends what you define as Friday night. Is Friday night 7 p.m?
Well, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, OK, well, I was then,
Well, people did tweet me to say they'd spotted you.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I had lunch in Portsmouth, down in Old Portsmouth on Friday. Oh, by the way, did you see the picture I put out of the boat?
Yes, I did, actually.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was
incredible.
Like it had a Land Rover thing stuck on it.
Yes, that's right. What happened was I came round the corner in Old Portsmouth, where you and I have been. We've actually dined in the place. I went for lunch on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And this enormous...
The table for one?
No.
Oh, did you have a guest?
Yes, I did, yes.
Female?
Yes. No. Mixture, actually. Mixture,
what?
male and female.
What do you mean? Oh,
male and female.
What, you mean one person, male and female?
No. A number of people. It wasn't just me there.
No, you didn't tell me about this lunch.
No, well, I don't have to tell you everything I do in life. Anyway, so I come round the corner in Old Portsmouth, right, by this Art Deco building where I once thought of buying an apartment, but I don't like Art Deco buildings.
Don't you?
Who wants to live in a 50s retro type building?
Well,
you know
I think the Chrysler building's pretty spectacular.
Well, it is, yeah, but that's the Chrysler building. This is a
and all those buildings on Collins Avenue in Miami Beach.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, they look rather nice. Mind you, I'm not sure if Portsmouth's the place for it.
No, it's not. I mean, it's like a film set, that place in Miami you're talking about, colonial. But anyway, the issue here is, I walked around the corner, this incredible. First of all, I saw this crane, and I thought, they must be building a new block of flats.
Yeah.
When I went round the corner, the crane was actually holding the mast.
Yeah. I couldn't work out from the picture which bit was the boat, to be honest.
Well, the boat was on the ground. Remember, it's a catamaran.
Yeah.
So it's just two long strips
I didn't think it was a very well taken picture. I couldn't make it out.
Well, you had to get so much in the picture because of the height of the sail. Now, the thing I've been asking myself ever since
is this one of the America's Cup boats or something?
Yes, it is one of the American Cup boats. It's Mr. What's his name? Ben Ainsley.
Ainsley, yes.
Ben Ainsley, married to Georgie from Sky.
Georgie,
right? Yeah. Hey there, Georgie girl. What's her name? Georgie. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Georgie, the blonde-haired. She works in America now in sports reporting. Georgie Thompson, I think, is the right name. Anyway, the point of the story is, I get round the corner.
You see the time?
Don't worry about the time. This is important. There's this huge mast, and it's been lifted off the boat by the crane.
Right.
Because it's so big, that's the only way they can do it.
Why are they taking the mast off?
They were putting the boat back into store. And you can't store the boat with the mast on. It's too big. So they have to take it off and lay it down.
Okay.
But I've been thinking this ever since the weekend. Perhaps you can answer this question. Yeah. Perhaps one of our millions of listeners out there can. When was the moment that somebody decided sails are no longer any good on a boat and replaced them with a plastic vane, which is what it is?
What do you mean?
Well, they don't have a sail anymore. There are no sails on boats.
About?
There's no sails on the boat.
What do you mean there's no sails on it? You just said it had a mast.
It's a plastic vane.
What's a vane?
A vane is like a great big fin, right? And the fin turns in the wind.
Well, like our new listener.
To get you through the water. Do you see what I mean?
No.
What I'm saying is there are no sails on racing.
You're a member of a yacht club.
I am too.
Why you should ask somebody who's in a yacht club
to
tell you what is happening with the sail technology. Because all that's happening is the sail is made of something other than canvas, that's all.
That's what I'm saying. It's made of plastic.
Well, what's wrong with that?
And I will talk to the Admiral at my yacht club, Leon Solent Yacht Club, and try and find out...
Is he like the Major in Fawlty Towers? Major?
Why are you being ignorant and rude to people who are my associates? Why? Why are you doing that?
Because I just can't imagine what this character's like.
Really?
You and he having a conversation.
Oh, really?
Deep dark on a dark Saturday afternoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I see, yeah.
Bladderated.
So you like insulting people, do you? Even though you've never met them, you don't know what they're like. How do you know this man isn't a multi-millionaire successful businessman who also happens to be the Admiral of my yachting club?
What's that got to do with whether he's a bladderated old fool?
You see, that is disgraceful. That is you
I'm going to tell you a naval story coming up, actually.
You've just branded somebody as a what? A drunken old fool who you've never met. Oh, that's
it could be. Well, I don't know how to defend
this. I don't defend
I know.
I think that's against broadcasting laws to insult people like that.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. Anyway, we're running very, very late already, only half an hour into the show. This is Talk Sport.
Now the drugs don't work. They just make you worse. But I know I'll see your face again.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Loads coming up. Winners and losers, of course, a little bit later on. How about this from Andy in Falkirk? He said, this is really sad news about Sharapova. However, there is no clinical, medically credible reason for Sharapova to be taking this drug. Athletes discovered that meldonium significantly improved exercise tolerance, hence why they've been taking it in ever-increasing numbers. This, sadly, is drug cheating, pure and simple.
Yeah, we don't know how many other athletes or tennis players have been taking it, do we?
Well, you don't.
I think that's important to know.
No, it's not important.
It's important for me to know.
Whether or not Maria Sharapova's a drugs cheat is not in question, in my view. She is. Whether anybody else has been taking it is not the point.
Yeah, well, look, technically, I'm not going to argue with you, but what I'm saying is my belief, and what I want to believe, and what I do believe, is that it's been a terrible mistake. And she's held her hands up and said, look, technically I've cheated, therefore...
What do you mean technically? You've cheated.
And she actually said, I take full responsibility
that's good of her.
For what's happened.
Well, of course she should.
Right?
So she knows what she's put into her body.
Yeah.
And she's been taking this drug for 10 years.
Yeah, but when you take it for 10 years, I think you become a little bit sort of blasé about what you're injecting in your daily diet.
Well, let me give you a situation that would be similar, right, for you, right?
Okay.
Say, for example, you get a communique from your Dr. Banner,
yes.
The so-called doctor who looks after you.
Yes. What do you mean, so-called doctor?
Well, he may or may not exist. I mean,
don't be ridiculous.
You keep failing to produce him.
He's one of the
or
leading...
any evidence there's anything wrong with you at all.
He's one of the leading cardiothoracic consultants in the
Well,
world.
so you keep saying.
Allocated to me to look after
you won't bring him on the show.
Well, I can't. He signed the Hippocratic Oath.
Well, the Hippocratic Oath is about doing no harm. It's not about whether he appears on the radio.
Is about not.
So why do doctors appear on TV
then? On your celebrity as a doctor.
Well, doctors are always on TV being quoted and talking about this, that, and the other.
Sorry, but I'm just telling you, this man is a genuinely great man.
Well, let me give you this situation, right?
Yeah.
You get a communique from him,
yes,
in which he says, "Dear Mr. Parry, things in the drug world have changed over the last few years.
Yes.
I just wanted to update you on some of the things that we've been doing.
Right
now, from this point on, you should avoid taking any drug on this list. Please click this link to see which drugs you should stop taking.
Right.
Would you not click on the link to have a look and see what those drugs were?
Yes, I would.
Well, why didn't she?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. All I can say is I think she probably never gets messages like that directly, that they go through her support team to her, and that somehow that mechanism has broken down.
No, but
that is my view.
Yeah, but she didn't check the list. I don't believe that she didn't check the list. I don't believe that she didn't know that it had been outlawed. I think she just expected to get away with it.
Yeah, well,
Simple as that.
I think we're going on about this too long. Listen, talking about mistakes.
How about this one from Steve?
He
says, I think they got rid of the sales so Porky could use them as shirts.
Well, yes, a funny little line, a quip, I'll have a chuckle at that one. But I mean, I'm quite seriously, I wonder who the guy was who suddenly turned around and said, we don't need sales anymore, get rid of those sales.
No, but they are sales. They're just made of something else.
They're made of plastic.
Yeah, but it's still a sale.
Well, they're made of fiberglass, actually. I was talking to the guy there.
It works as a sale.
I was talking to the guy there, and they're made
What do you mean you were talking to? What, you just went up to the guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what did he think? You were some kind of old nutter?
No, he didn't. I said, well, magnificent machine, that, and all that kind of stuff, and I talked to him about it.
Did you tell him you had a mate called the Admiral at your local sailing club?
Why do you have to go around insulting people that you don't understand? You don't understand about people like the Admiral at the sailing club.
I have no idea who the Admiral is. It's
well,
another one of these characters in your life that you never produce.
The top two guys are the Commodore and the Admiral.
Okay.
Both friends of mine. And you go around insulting them. Yes, the Commodore.
Have they ever been in the naval intelligence, these characters? These are your naval intelligence guys.
I can't get into that, can I?
These are the characters that you get all your information from.
I can't comment on that. It's just not right for me to start trying to, explain their backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. Sufficient to say that if you feel it necessary to mock and deride people you've never met, then that shows a level of ignorance which I've come to expect of you. Quite simple as that.
Really?
Listen, talking about mistakes, right?
I'm trying to find out why this sail is made of something different.
Yeah, well, it's made of fiberglass, I told you. But
you told me it was made of plastic.
Well, the same thing, plastic, fiberglass.
Plastic and fiberglass, the same thing.
Listen, I'm going to...
Have you ever tried making a car out of plastic?
Well,
some cars are made of plastic.
Exactly, lots of things in a car are made of plastic.
Now, according to the chief engineer of the project, one of the reasons that they got involved in this whole thing with Land Rover was to make the design process perform so the boat performs better for our sailors.
Exactly.
So obviously it's a way of enhancing the perforance of the boat.
Of course,
they can't give it drugs, Maria Sharapova style.
No, don't be ridiculous. It's a new design. Now, listen, talking about mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I want to read this to you. Okay. In our newspaper industry these days,
hang on, I haven't seen the new day yet.
The new date.
You carry on with that.
All right,
I'll
okay.
just check it out.
You have to, as soon as you can, hold your hands up to mistakes. Otherwise, the regulatory body that controls the newspaper industry these days could come down on you very hard, right?
Yeah.
So listen to this one.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you guess which paper it came from, okay?
Yeah, go on.
A review of David Astor, A Life in Print, a biography of the former editor of The Observer, contained a number of errors on February the 20th, on page 7. In the article, we suggested that William Waldorf Astor, A-S-T-O-R, was named after a hotel. When yeah. Seriously. In the article, we suggested that William Waldorf Astor was named after a hotel, when in fact his name referred to the family's native Rhineland village.
Yeah.
He didn't build the Hotel Cliveden, as we suggested. Cliveden, yeah, as we suggested. He, in fact, bought it.
Yeah.
And he didn't sack the editor of The Observer for spiking his contributions, as we suggested, although he did sack the editor of the Pall Mall Gazette, another Astor acquisition,
right,
for spiking his contributions.
Uh-huh.
For the benefit of our listeners, spiking means throwing the stuff away.
In the bin, yeah.
Yeah, in the bin, yeah. We said that Catherine Whitehorn was women's editor of The Observer,
right,
when in fact she was a columnist. We said Patrick Lee Fermor compared David Astor to Disney's Pluto. Fermor actually compared the writer Philip Toynbee to that cartoon character.
Did they get anything right in this piece?
Terence Kilmartin replaced Jim Rose as Observer literary editor, not J.C. Trewin. During the war, David Astor didn't merely suffer a mild attack of dysentery, as we suggested in the review.
Yeah.
In fact, he was wounded in action during a German ambush. Right. He was wounded in action during an ambush in the Ardennes. Yeah,
this
in
is
the Ardennes.
worst apology of all time.
And Terence Kilmartin is believed to have been involved in his rescue. Astor was awarded the Croix de Guerre for bravery. He didn't have dysentery at all.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, good God.
That is ridiculous.
Now, that appeared in the Guardian,
yeah,
right?
I thought you were going to ask me where I thought it appeared.
Yeah, well, go on. Where do you think it appeared?
The Guardian.
The Guardian, that's right, yeah. But, I mean, Jesus,
Yeah, I know.
It
But, I
makes me
mean,
laugh.
also, what makes it worse is
Yes.
that the Observer and the Guardian are sort of sister newspapers,
They are.
right?
Oh,
so
they
they
are.
couldn't just walk over the road or across the corridor to just go and do a bit of fact-checking.
The Observer...
This is why the Guardian is so hated by so many journalists
Exactly.
who I call real journalists,
That's
because
right.
they get
Yeah.
so much wrong constantly.
Yeah, they do.
But in a ridiculous way.
Oh, yeah, they
There's
do.
no reason for any of that.
In the following day, right, so that was Saturday the 5th of March. Sorry, the previous day. What about this one? A number of articles referred to the failure of many guests at the Oscars, including the director, Alejandro González Iñárritu.
Who's this?
Alejandro González Iñárritu,
Yeah.
to applaud Jenny Bevan as she walked down the aisle past them to collect her Academy Award for Best Costume Design. Iñárritu has since issued a statement pointing out that he did applaud. He applauded Bevan as she ascended the stairs to the stage.
Yeah.
The Bag Lady Strikes Again was the title. Hollywood bombast brings out Albert. It just goes on and on and on. William Shawcross, the chairman of the Charity Commission, is not a member of the House of Lords, as we suggested in referring to him as Lord Shawcross. So, I mean, everybody knows William Shawcross is not in the House of Lords.
No, I know.
He wrote the famous biography of Rupert Murdoch,
He
didn't
did indeed.
Yeah.
How about this one from Ian? All aboard HMS Parry. Welcome Admiral Lionel Richie of the Commodores.
That's a bit harsh.
That is brilliant.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. I may as well start with this tweet from Derek in Pencoed. Sorry, not a tweet. It's a text that's
From
coming.
Pencoed?
Yeah, 81089.
The Bob Cleaner?
That would be him.
Yes.
Can you please ask Porky how many goals Sterling has scored so far this season?
Yeah.
After he said he wouldn't score more than 5 goals. Actually, incorrect, Derek. He said he wouldn't score 5 goals. Somebody actually tweeted in earlier tonight that you are now actually proved correct. Because you said he wouldn't score 5.
Yes.
And he's now scored 6. So actually, technically, that's correct.
Yeah. The situation is that I said he wouldn't score 5 Premier League goals as a throwaway comment to indicate that I thought...
you tweeted it out. So unfortunately, it's been put into the archives of online history.
Yes. What I said, we won't score.
Maybe you should have deleted
5
that tweet
Premier League goals. No,
instead of the horrible one you sent me.
Yeah, well, you deserved it because you were getting on my nerves, and you deserved a.
I was merely pointing out the statistics.
You deserved an abusive tweet, and the only reason I withdrew it later was because I realised that we are a family show, and I didn't want that to creep into the.
It is a family show.
That's
right.
The context of the
Which
show.
reminds you, I've got to tell you about these women rowers.
Oh, yeah, okay. You tell me that in a minute.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to say is on the Sterling thing, right? So my statement, which was a throwaway statement, picked up by a lot of our intelligent listeners, of course, who forensically listen to every word we say.
Yes.
Then became law. But I was trying to indicate that for £48 million, even now, the 6 goals he scored in the Premier League.
So you're not going to admit that you were wrong?
Cost £8 million each.
So you're not going to admit that you were wrong?
What I'm going to say is this. I'm going to say that because I made that statement, I feel that I put myself in a position where I have to make some recompense. So I'll be making a donation to charity in lieu of the statement I made about Raheem Sterling.
Are you going to give money to charity this time?
Well, I haven't decided yet. I'll take a few suggestions and work something out. But, I seem to be giving away more money to charity than I do.
But that's because you think that you can somehow correct any mistake that you've made by throwing money at it.
Well, it's not throwing money at it, is it? It isn't. The Bournemouth thing...
Well, that's what you did in Bournemouth.
...was a matter of honour.
Instead of jumping off the pier, which you promised you would do, and having welched on that, you sort of slimed your way back into everybody's good graces by handing out some money.
The local authority wouldn't allow me to jump off the pier, otherwise I would have done. There's not a problem there, so I did the right thing, and I will now make provisions to put this right, OK?
Will you?
Because I'm fed up of being abused and heckled by people, even in the street over in Portsmouth.
Well, you just admit you're wrong, and then you don't have to give any money away.
Well, look, I'm not
just
wrong.
Can't do it, can you?
I'm not wrong.
You are wrong.
At £8 million plus a goal,
he has scored.
That is not a bargain.
He has scored more than 5. Well, the season's not over yet.
3 of those goals were in the same game. So he's only scored...
There's another, 9 games to go.
He's only scored in 4 Premier League games out of 30.
Matter. So what?
Only 4.
So what?
So if you think that's a great record, then
I don't think it's a great record.
That's up to you.
I
don't
say it's a great record.
I think it proves my point.
But it proves that you're wrong. And he scored more goals than you said he would, so why don't you just admit it?
It proves my point, and most people will understand exactly what I was trying to say. Most people will empathise with me. Now, I want to talk to you about golf, right?
Well, before you do that, let me tell you about these women rowers.
Good idea.
Right? There's a team of rowers called the Yorkshire Rows, right? Who are apparently trying to make a record-breaking trip across the Atlantic.
Right.
They were, as you might expect, the subject of quite a few stories and, a couple of TV interviews were organised.
Yes.
BBC Breakfast yesterday, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
BBC Breakfast yesterday had a live interview.
Don't make a habit of watching BBC Breakfast.
Don't you?
No.
Well, now they've got that guy on it who doesn't work on Sundays.
Who's
Dan,
that?
what's his name?
Dan
Walker, is it?
Dan Walker? Don't know.
Is
Who's
it
Dan Walker?
He's the guy that used to do Final Score. But he's now doing the BBC, because Bill Turnbull retired.
Oh, Bill Turnbull retired. That's right. Yeah,
you remember him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember.
It's good that you keep up with all these media stories.
He was an Oxford graduate, quite an amiable sort of a bloke. Bill
Amiable.
Amiable. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
What, ERM?
No, amiable.
Do you mean amiable?
Amiable. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, go on. Anyway,
so there's 4 women from Yorkshire, right?
Right.
They're all mothers. Helen Butters, Nikki Doig, Jeanette Bernardi, and Frances Davis.
Right.
Right. They were being interviewed by Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Right.
Who you might know.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, you might remember when we interviewed the girls that had done that amazing rowing escapade from South America down to Australia.
Over the Pacific, yes.
And you were given quite a bit of a stick on Twitter.
I was.
Because you asked one of them if she was ever naked.
Yeah, did you row naked? Yeah.
Well, guess what?
What?
When they were interviewing these people on the boat and the camera was in the front of the boat, presumably firing back at them.
Yes.
One of the women in the front who's rowing,
yes,
who was being interviewed and talking to the camera,
yes,
as the camera sort of panned down,
yes,
to see where her legs were doing.
Yes.
It turned out she wasn't wearing anything.
No, I know.
She was wearing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and do you know why? It's because the salt water. If you're wearing clothes and in the middle of an ocean, the salt water and the humidity, it really rubs your skin. When you've got clothes on, it causes rashes and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And that's why I know more about these things than you do. And I asked the girls that we interviewed in the Pacific, were you rowing naked?
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was being pervy, but I wasn't. I was just trying to illustrate the sort of thing.
Yeah, it was unfortunately you didn't ask the question in that context.
Yes.
So it didn't sound like that.
Yes.
But there was
this lady was caught on camera, wasn't she?
Quite a reaction on Twitter. Yeah, she was caught on camera. And I mean, I don't even know if I can read you some of the tweets that were put out. Lots of people thought it was a bit early for flashing. Somebody forgot their shorts. And I mean, just extraordinary, really.
It is quite extraordinary.
It's a family show. Could never happen on this show.
But once again, proves that what I was doing was based on insightful knowledge and nothing else. Now, how long is it since you and I played golf together?
God, I don't think we've ever played golf together, have we?
Of course we have, you fool. But
When?
it's probably in America at some stage.
Yeah,
yeah
must
something
be in the 80s. Well, you can't play golf.
Well, no,
You
I'm
can't
okay.
play golf.
I'm okay.
No,
I'm
you're not okay. I
I've
would not take you to any of the golf clubs in Scotland, for example, that I used to play on a regular basis. I wouldn't take you to Turnberry.
No?
I wouldn't take you to Troon.
Why not?
I wouldn't take you to St Andrews.
Why not?
Because you have to stand on the first tee and hit what looks like a halfway decent drive.
Yeah, well, I can do that.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No.
And anyway, I've got my own designer clubs from Callaway.
Have you?
Yes, they were made for me
especially short clubs.
No, you idiot. Anyway, look, the reason I'm asking you all this is because...
Why?
Well, like millions of people like you and me, sort of, early middle-aged type people have just given up golf altogether.
Early middle-age.
And now golf clubs are closing down all over the place and being bought up by building companies who are building housing estates on them.
I'll tell you why that is, though, because there were too many golf clubs that grew up in that explosion of golf clubs in the sort of 80s and 90s. Who?
Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was responsible for all of that. He was.
You might have a point.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there was a situation where golf clubs were starting up all over the place. I actually won a membership of a golf club called Broke Hill, which is just off the M25. Broke Hill.
Sounds like something from Arizona.
Yeah, it was just down off
Tombstone.
Yeah, it was just on the sort of southeast corner of the M25, Kent way, Badger's Bottom around there.
Yeah.
And I only ever went and played there once.
Right.
And I've never been back.
Has it closed down?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. It was one of those new golf clubs, and it wasn't a particularly great course.
Well,
and it was built on right. You could hear the M25 when you were playing.
Right.
And the ground was such that it got very heavy and very waterlogged a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I stopped going was because I read a report in a paper about some guy who got into a terrible fight. Police were called,
right?
Because there was slow play.
Yes,
and I thought I don't really want to be involved in a golf club where people start fighting each other.
No, exactly,
because the play is slow.
Of course not.
And I thought best if I avoid the place in future.
There's a very posh one near me down in Surrey called Kingswood.
Yeah.
And
there's loads of great golf clubs in Surrey.
Of course there are. Yeah, but funny enough, over the period of about a year, about 5 years ago, another golf course emerged. Only about, less than half a mile away, really.
I used to play at a place called Effingham, not far from you.
Yeah, that's right.
Not far away.
Yeah. But this one just suddenly appeared, and bulldozers moved in, and building, bunkers and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know if it's still going, but that was the sort of thing that used to happen, 10 years ago. But now they're all closing down. It says between 2004 and 2013, 1 in 5 golfers in England has given up club membership, according to England Golf, the governing body.
Yeah.
Numbers falling from 882,000 to 707. Many have done so explicitly to change their golf clothing for lycra and have taken up riding bikes.
Oh, God.
Golfers have taken up riding bikes. How about that?
Did you see Boris Johnson in the papers yesterday talking about how, the misery for London's drivers is almost over?
Oh,
boasting about how in 2013
I
stood on this very spot and said we would build a cycle superhighway. Yeah. Now it's nearly finished.
Yeah,
marvellous.
And nobody's going to use it, and it's meant misery for motorists. I saw a piece, I think it was in the Times or something like that, saying,
Standard, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I've sorted out the roads. Yeah. Well, you haven't sorted out the roads I use, Boris.
But also
sorry.
It's taken 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years of misery.
We'll talk some more about that.
Yes.
Also, I've got Wetherspoons on my mind. I'm going to talk to you about that as well.
Okie
This is Talk Sport.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport with Wicks. Every weekday morning, get opinionated comment.
Didn't play? No, exactly. I think I've played more for Spurs than he has.
Exclusive interviews.
Usain Bolt.
I always know what I need to do, so when I go out, I just get it done.
And unmissable debate.
People in the street like me, and that's enough. Yeah, that's what all losers say.
From the biggest names in sports broadcasting every day.
Unbelievable, breathtaking stuff.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport with Wicks. Let's do it right.
There is a person who can help deliver aid to the desperate under the most challenging conditions. They can maintain equipment so advanced, most don't even know it exists. And they can start by committing just 27 days a year. That person's you. As an RAF reservist, you'll receive world-class training to develop new and existing skills. And you can do it all in your spare time. Find your role as an RAF reservist. Search RAF Recruitment now.
Park for free at Westfield Stratford City with Asper's Casino. Become an Aspire member, and whenever you visit Aspers, you park for free. Aspers is London's only super casino. Open 24/7 with free membership and free parking until the end of March. You're onto a winner. Terms apply. Details at asperstratford.co.uk. Over 18s, play responsibly, gambleaware.co.uk.
Diamonds aren't just a girl's best friend. There's sparkling savings at Trust Ford's exclusive diamond event with 0.9% representative APR, 4 years servicing, 4 years roadside assistance, and 5 years or 100,000-mile warranty. And savings of up to £11,000 on nearly new 65-plate transits. But these diamond offers aren't forever. You've got just 11 days. So call into your local Trust Ford for dazzling diamond deals. Visit trustford.co.uk/diamond.
Recognise that?
Not really. I wonder why we have these sort of weird sort of musical interludes sometimes. What's all that about?
Well, it's the Commodores.
The Commodores, yeah. So what's that?
Well,
How
you
is that
mentioned
relevant to our
the
show?
Commodore and the Admiral, these two characters that you hang out with.
Oh,
at the
sorry, the
sort of
two
sailing
men that
club.
you've insulted without even meeting them or knowing them.
Well, I have no idea who they are.
You've derided and mocked them as two old buffers who looked like the Major
Well, it sounds
from
like that,
Fawlty
doesn't it?
Towers.
Well, it sounds
no, it
like
doesn't
that.
sound like that, and it's disgraceful that you should go down that route.
Right.
Now, let's talk about something that did contribute to world history.
Oh, hang on, before you do that, I want
yes.
to talk to you about Wetherspoons.
Right.
Because you remember last week,
yes,
they did away with the Sunday roast.
That's right.
Well, guess what they did this week?
Put the price of beer up.
Yeah, but not just price of beer.
Yeah.
Put the price of everything up.
Right.
By 10%.
Yeah, OK.
Right, and especially the food.
Yes, OK. Well,
cost of a traditional full English breakfast has gone from $2.99 to $3.25.
Well, that's still a bargain.
Cost of a bowl of porridge has gone to $2.39.
That's still a
rising by
bargain.
20 pence.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't understand why they're suddenly doing all these things.
Well, it's run by our old friend, Mr. Tim.
He's not my old friend.
What's his name?
Tim, what's his name?
Tim, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, but
Tim.
I don't know him.
Tim. We met him on the train up to
No,
Birmingham.
you met him on the train.
Yeah.
I keep saying that.
Tim, what's his name?
I did not meet him.
Oh, come on. I know him. I know his name.
Yeah, I know you know his name.
I spoke
You
to
just
him.
can't think of it.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, he runs a very efficient business. I think he controls 700 pubs or something like that number.
Yeah.
And provides.
Yeah, but why has he suddenly done all this? Then?
And
why
provides a service for the working man.
But why has he suddenly gone, right, I'll tell you what, we're going to do away with the Sunday roast, we're going to put all our prices up?
I don't know.
Seems an odd thing to do for a man who up until now has always been very careful about his image.
Maybe
and
because
the image of the place.
Maybe because he has had a review of costs and decided that, he had to I don't know, catch up with revenues or something like that. Or I think it's very soon, isn't it? The government's new minimum wage is introduced.
Oh, really? What, is this the living wage thing?
The living wage thing, yeah. It's going up to £7.20. No, I think it's been introduced quite soon.
Oh, so you think it might be a response to that?
Well, it may be. I don't know. I mean, you read these warnings from business people that everything's going to go up because of the minimum wage going up. And I mean, look, everybody wants the lowest paid in our society to have a decent living wage. Of course we do.
Apart from your cleaner, of course.
No. But I mean, if that skews the economy, you wonder whether it's counterproductive. Because if it does, it means people are put out of work. If they fulfil their threats, a lot of employers are saying they're going to have to lay people off. I don't know the answer to
Did
what
you go to
you're saying.
Wetherspoons this weekend? Did you frequent any one of them?
No, I didn't actually. No, I was at other places this weekend. But that doesn't mean to say I won't patronise them in future.
Yeah.
I think they're a great establishment.
Buster says this, does Porky realise Wetherspoons isn't a registered charity? Because you were talking about giving money away to a charity.
Yes,
I think he's making fun of
I
you
see
there.
what you mean, making a bit of fun.
Yeah.
That's all right, I don't mind a joke. Look, I'll tell you what, old Nancy Reagan's died, right?
She has.
Now, that is historical, that, because she was probably the most powerful First Lady since Eleanor, what's her name?
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, that's right, that's what I'm looking for.
Eleanor, what's her name?
Yeah.
There's nothing like having an absolute and utter knowledge. Did you see, by the way, that we made clips of the week with that ludicrous conversation we had?
No, what was that?
About Hanson.
Oh, yeah, what was
Do you
that?
remember, I think it was on Thursday night. Or Friday.
Alan Hansen we were talking about.
We don't have to retread it, but I mean, basically, we played the song by Hanson, which was a pop band.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then you said, why are we playing that? And I said, well, because we were talking about Hanson.
Yes.
And you said, well, Alan Hansen. And I went, well, I can't remember what we were talking about. And neither one of us could remember what we'd been talking about
I see,
in the first hour of the show.
We just played the song anyway.
So it made clips of the week anyway.
Oh, well, OK, that's good. I'm glad, because I think that's one of the greatest part of the broadcasting week here on TalkSport is H&J's Clips of the Week.
And we'll be going to Cheltenham.
We are. Week on...
you sorted the tickets, by the way?
Yeah, I've sorted the tickets.
Well, have you?
What tickets?
The tickets for the train.
Yeah, the train tickets are all sorted. Yeah, they're sorted, yeah.
Because I told you, I don't want to do that thing where we did it last time, where we stop at Swindon, get on some old rattler with, no first class in it.
No, you don't understand.
It's not that I don't mind going second class. I'm quite happy to go second class.
I'm man of the people.
But if you pay for a first class ticket and there's no first class on the train, what's the point?
I'm man of the people. So last year, we got on the train at Paddington Station. And then you were shocked because you bought a bottle of champagne on the train, very extravagantly, 125 quid or something.
Yeah.
And then when we got to Swindon, was it, or Oxford?
It was Swindon.
Swindon. Yeah. Suddenly, this guy comes on and says...
near Oxford.
Didn't we? OK. This guy says, you've got to get off the train. We said, what do you mean get off the train? We go to Cheltenham. Yeah, but this train isn't. Yeah. What? And so I had to get off, cross the platform, and we thought, well, another luxury train will pull in and take us to Cheltenham.
But it didn't.
This cattle truck literally pulled
It was. It was like one of the oldest trains I've ever been on.
It was so cattle truckish. I didn't even know it was a train. I literally thought it was like a beast thing,
I know.
Carried animals.
Yeah. So well, as it turned out, it did carry a few animals.
It didn't have any carpet. It was metal floors. It was the worst train I've ever been on.
It also didn't have any seats either because they were all occupied.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
we had to stand next to that guy with the bike and all the tattoos.
Oh, this mad Scotsman got on with tattoos all over his face.
Right.
And
drinking lager.
And his arms and all that.
9 o'clock in the morning.
And he tried to engage us with conversation, so I'm dressed in my suit on the way to Cheltenham, and this mad Scots guy with his mad bike and his can of lager in a guttural Scottish accent, so strong, it was things like, oh, Jimmy, I'm telling you, son, who you are, yeah. I couldn't understand a word.
Sounds like your impersonation of Alan Brazil.
Yeah. Well,
it wasn't him, by the way.
I couldn't understand a word he was saying, and he got more and more sort of frustrated at my inability to comprehend what he was saying.
Yeah.
A, he was a Scotsman. B, he was very drunk.
Yeah.
And C, he seemed to have a level of aggression in his voice which bent all the vowels and consonants of the words
also,
he was trying to say to me.
because of the nature of the train, it was so noisy. You couldn't really hear anything anyway.
It was a clattering.
It was an absolute nightmare. So I hope this time you've done it properly.
Right, well, this time we're going all the way there first class.
Good.
And we're going all the way back first class. Okay?
Excellent.
So we will be in Cheltenham a week on Friday at the Cheltenham. We have been invited into a couple of boxes to visit people and say hello.
Okay.
Anybody else who'd like to invite us in for a quick sherbet, please feel free. That's not a problem.
I wouldn't recommend it.
And we're also going to be doing a bit of a slot with H&J.
Well, hopefully.
Indeed.
And hopefully maybe making a bit of money as well on the old GGs.
Well, last year...
What about Victoria Pendleton? Are you going to try and
this is brilliant.
make contact with her?
Well, I'm not going to try and make contact with her. But
Somebody did actually tweet me earlier to ask if you'd be saddling up Victoria Pendleton before the race.
Oh, I see. A smutty little innuendo.
No, it's not. Well,
smutty little innuendo.
Well, you know about racing more than I do.
I'm very supportive of her. I think she's done a fantastic thing to be a champion cyclist, and then decide, look, I can't be a cyclist anymore. I'm getting too old. And then decide to take up another profession, and what a wonderful...
Apparently there's been a couple of racing aficionados who've been quite sort of dismissive of her, though.
Well, they are in a way, because they think that she's going to take the full force of the publicity machine with her on Gold Cup Day.
Yeah.
Because Gold Cup Day should all be about the Gold Cup, of course, but the race after the Gold Cup is the Fox Hunter Chase, which she's racing in. And so people are going to say, hang on, which is the big race of the day now? Is it the Gold Cup or the one the Victoria Pendleton's
surely
in?
if you're at Cheltenham, you'll just go, well, this is another great race.
Exactly.
Because when the Gold Cup's finished, there's always a sense of a kind of, that's it.
Yes.
Whereas if she's then in another race, then it kind of prolongs it.
Well, you'd think so. But generally speaking, I suppose... When the Gold Cup's been run, it's on the last day of the meeting. That's it, so to speak, and everything else is just, sort of piffle, really. But, I mean, it will be a very significant moment. I think it's brilliant. I think she's terribly brave. She only got on a horse for the first time a year ago. I mean, crikey, that's like you and me getting into a Formula 1 motor racing car 1 year ago and now entering the British Grand Prix next week. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
I don't think we'd last long.
No, but she's an amazing woman.
How's your tyres, by the way? Did they last through the weekend?
Tyres lasted through the weekend. Had to get the new tyre. It
didn't hit any curbs or anything?
Didn't hit any curbs or anything like that, no. Didn't have any problems motoring-wise.
Excellent.
I don't think. I'm just trying to think. I did have something, actually. I can't remember what it was.
Did you?
Nearly ran out of petrol, that's right.
Really?
Nearly ran out of petrol on Sunday.
In this day and age, you should never have that happen.
I know. But
I mean, your car will tell you exactly exactly how many miles you've got left.
It tells you that, and it also says reserve fuel level, replenish fuel immediately and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it should never get that low.
Well, I didn't notice. How
can you not notice?
I don't know.
You've got one of these very, very sort of very flash new sort of digital dashboards.
Sure, but there's so much to look at, that you sometimes miss the obvious.
Really?
But they are. It would have been a nightmare to have run out of petrol. Just imagine running out of petrol.
That's the most embarrassing thing you can
do. Well, not
do.
only that, but you'll damage your car. If your car gets down to the dregs of the petrol tank, it's full of silt and all that kind of stuff, even in the purest form. I only buy the best. I buy super diesel. What are you on about?
Of course you only buy the best.
Why? Well, because...
How much is that now, then?
Super diesel?
Yeah.
It's about, 120, is it?
I don't know.
125?
You're the one that buys it.
I don't know.
You have no idea, do you?
No, I don't really know.
I bought petrol, for example, yesterday. I bought some diesel yesterday for the old jalopy, and it was 99p.
Oh, is it really? Where was that then?
Down in Sussex.
Wow, that's pretty good. But you don't look at the price.
But I know how much it costs.
Yeah.
But no, of course I look at the price.
Well, I don't.
You don't look at the price.
And then you've got the final price, and it's usually about 62 quid now, which it used to be 80 quid, of course, so that's pretty good. So I'm pretty
it's probably
pleased
just over £1 then?
Maybe, yeah.
How much does your tank take? 50 litres? 60?
60 litres, probably.
Yeah.
Probably 60 litres. A litre is, hang on, well, there's 5 litres in a gallon. Do you know that?
So what?
Well, that means that you can convert it into gallons.
Why?
I prefer to deal in gallons.
Why?
So it's about 14 gallons.
Did you convert the wine into gallons as well?
I'm not going to
How many gallons of that did you drink over the weekend?
Stupid question. You claim that people saw me intoxicated in Portsmouth.
Well, I'm just repeating what's on Twitter.
A, not intoxicated. B, don't remember seeing anybody. And,
not remembering seeing anyone doesn't really convince me that it wasn't true.
No, not so. You know what I'm saying.
Anyway, we got lots more to do.
Did you know that crows are as bright as chimpanzees?
Do they believe in God as well?
I'm going to tell you all about it next.
We haven't talked about that
The bright crows.
Okay, the bright crows.
Yeah.
I've heard about the black crows.
Yeah, the bright crows.
Sport.
Yeah.
He's the man with the football plan, holding the hopes and dreams of an entire nation in his hands.
There's the full-time whistle.
England qualify. He's England manager, Roy Hodgson. And before he heads off to France, he must endure the ultimate test, going head-to-head with Durham and Goffey, live on Talk Sport.
Roy, we're locking the doors, so you're not going anywhere.
Roy will be live in the studio, speaking in depth about his Perfect 10 qualification campaign and the final phase of training ahead of the European Championships this summer.
A few people dance around in front of me saying it's never too late and I can help you out, but I tend to ignore them.
Roy Hodgson, live at Drive, with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff, this afternoon from 4 on Talk Sport.
I want something beautiful. Man, I wish I was beautiful. So come dance the silence down through the morning. Sha la 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 la, yeah. Yeah. Cut up, Maria. Show me some of them Spanish.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. Winners and losers coming up a little bit later on this show as well. Mr. Parry, that is Counting Crows, by the way.
Counting Crows?
You were talking about why crows are as intelligent as chimpanzees. But you know what we didn't talk about, and we were meant to talk about it on Friday on the show, was that story about chimps believing in God.
Yeah.
Because we never really got to that.
Yeah, but I didn't understand that story.
So feel free to elaborate on that as well if you wish.
It was all about chimpanzees being found in jungles with strange markings on the trees.
Oh, yeah.
And this was, somebody's interpreted this as the animals, the apes and whatever, using the tree as like an altar.
Okay.
And,
so this was their version of sort of cave painting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, putting strange marks on it and believing that there was a higher spirit coming to them. But the one I found most interesting was this. I found this in one of my scientific journals.
Did you?
Crows and parrots have sophisticated thinking skills on a par with those of apes, such as chimpanzees.
Uh-huh.
The bird's brains, not the bird brains.
But I thought birds' brains were notoriously small.
Hang on, we talked about
pigeons.
Pigeons' brains before being magnetic and being taken out of pigeons and put into
still one of the most popular clips on Two Bites TV.
Yeah, elite soldiers who then would find their way around a battlefield because they'd have a magnetic brain.
Yeah, how's that plan coming along?
Well, I think it's ongoing. But anyway, the bird's brains are about a tenth the size of the mammals. That's the chimpanzee's brain, and their structures are completely different. But scientists now believe they develop equal cognitive abilities through facing the same challenges in the wild, which goes back over 300 million years.
What?
300 million years.
What, crows are 300 million years old?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
No, I don't think you're right about that.
No, I am.
I don't think crows have been alive that long.
They have. It goes. Scientists say they've been studying it, challenges in the wild for over 300 million years of evolution, OK?
Rubbish.
Now, the new assessment of research results gathered in recent decades says birds' cognition includes abilities such as delaying gratification. For example, in hoarding food and reasoning.
Yeah.
OK?
Well, delaying gratification and hoarding food, I mean, I'm not sure that you would say that is one of the same thing.
Oh,
because,
you would?
I mean, if you're bringing food, for example, to the nest as a crow, basically, of course, you're not going to eat it all at once. I mean, there's only a few animals that eat constantly until they would die, like dogs being one of them. I mean, if you gave a dog enough food for a week, he would eat it all in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, Labrador would,
whereas with a cat, for example, you can give a cat food out for every day of the week you're away on holiday, and it will eat the food in daily doses.
Will it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I used to have a cat.
Oh, that's a strange thing to do.
Well, no. What do you mean it's a strange thing to do?
Well, surely the cat that evening would think, that was tasty, my lunch. I think I'll have tomorrow's lunch now.
No. See, cats don't do that. Cats are very different. They're very capable of drinking. My cat, by the way, only used to drink water from the tap.
Really?
Yeah.
It's strange. Is that why you drink so much water?
What do you mean?
Well, you drink water all the time during the show.
Yeah, water is it's good for your body.
You say so.
You must keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah,
I mean, the two things that I do that you don't do,
yes,
which result in me being sane and you being mad, is that I sleep enough and I drink water.
Yeah, well, you say that. People who drink water have got usually hiding something. usually got some.
Why would you be hiding something?
Well, you've either got some sort of disability brought on by, excessive lifestyle problems, or you are so constantly bladderated when you're not in this studio that you need to rehydrate yourself during the show.
No, I mean, you should drink, they say, the equivalent of at least a litre of water
a
day.
That has been torn down a million times by scientists who say it's absolute nonsense.
No, it has not.
You can drink too much water and it can do you no good.
That's true if you drink too much.
Probably why you're so big and puffy around the face. Now then...
big and puffy around the face?
Yes, that's right,
Have you looked at the Brad Pitt mirror lately?
Now then, let me tell you this. Covid...
Nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it is a nice shirt, yeah.
That's like something Viella would have made about 35 years ago.
Is it really? Yeah, well, you may not have noticed...
Is it a Viella shirt?
No. You may have...
Is it the Italian?
I don't know. You may have noticed that...
What size is it?
Things come back into fashion about every 35 years. This happens to be re-fashionable again.
That one hasn't.
Now then, what I was going to say to you was...
crows.
Here we go. Now, corvids... That's the bird family that includes crows.
Corvids?
You know that? Corvids.
I've never heard of that.
Corvids, right?
No. What other birds are in that family, then?
Well, crows and others are also Yes, also known to use tools, right, and think logically.
Tools?
Previous research...
So next time I go down the B&Q, I'll see a couple of crows there, will I?
Don't be ridiculous. You are an idiot. Why can't you... When I try and explain these scientific journals to you, why can't you just, take them as they're meant for once?
Because it's a load of old cobblers, that's why.
No, it's not. Now, listen.
Go on.
Corvids, right?
Yeah.
Which includes crows. Previous research has confirmed that a crow will drop stones into a beaker of water to raise its surface level so it can drink. This is a form of behaviour central to Aesop's fable, The Crow and the Pitcher. So they reckon that old Aesop, who wrote that, actually witnessed a crow doing that. You see what I mean?
Hey, look, I can help you out here.
What?
Corvidae is a cosmopolitan family of Oscine passerine birds that contains crows, ravens and rooks.
Well, there you go.
And also magpies.
Magpies as well. You're absolutely right.
And jackdaws. Well, they're intelligent creatures, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are, because they go around nicking stuff.
Yeah.
Now then, the mental abilities of corvids and parrots are as sophisticated and diverse as those of apes, says a latest study.
Right.
Among other things, they are capable of thinking logically, of recognising themselves in the mirror, and of empathy.
In the mirror?
Wow, they can recognise themselves in a mirrh. That's incredible.
Well, how often do they look in a mirror?
Well, they don't, but they look into water, don't they? And they see a reflection in water, you idiot. That's like a mirror. And also, they have empathy. So if they see another bird with a broken wing, they can actually go...
Yeah, but what can they do about it?
Well, they raise the alarm, don't they, to see if somebody can help?
No.
Like a human.
Well, why do you always find birds with broken wings lying on the floor, then?
Well, because they can't get up and fly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's no, good Samaritan crow that's carrying them off to the sort of bird hospital.
They don't carry them off, do they? They're trying to attract attention of a human being who can help them.
Really?
Now then, mammals' cognitive skills are controlled by a part of the brain called the neocortex, while crows and parrots manage complex mental tasks with a structure called the pallium. Okay?
The pallium? What's that? Like the London
it's part of your
Podium.
brain. No, don't be ridiculous. Now...
why are you telling me all this?
I'm telling you this because it's so interesting. Now, Professor Ona Gunter-Kuchen, right? What is your problem?
What's his name?
He's a professor.
What's his
Ona Gunter-Kuchen, who is... What's your problem?
It's a ridiculous name. It sounds like toucan.
No, he's a professor, and he's from Germany's Ruhr University. You know,
Where?
Ruhr, the river. You know the River Ruhr.
The Ruhr in Germany, yeah. I
the
know
Ruhr
it well,
University.
Yeah.
Actually, this is another professor here. The other professor's called, believe it or not, Professor Thomas Bongenar. Bongenar, I don't know what that is. But anyway, he's from Vienna. He's from the University of Vienna.
Great, okay.
They have said that a common ancestor between apes and birds may have passed on a brain module that is similar to both.
Wow.
So,
That's fascinating.
They believe a more likely explanation is that they evolved independently of each other by facing the same challenges of survival.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are you shouting?
The scientists whose study is published in the journal Trends in Cognitive Sciences, that's where I got it from, right?
Yeah, right.
Think this would mean certain brain wiring patterns are necessary to boost the cognitive skills, says Professor Gunter Kuchernen. He said, What is your problem?
Which one is he? The first one or the second one?
He's the first one.
What's the second one called?
Bungenjagen. But look, I don't know what your problem is, honestly. These are scientific...
I can't see now, that's my problem.
No. Anyway, the absolute brain... the absolute brain weight is not relevant.
Oh, good.
Ape brains weigh 10 ounces to a pound, but a bird brain... What is your problem? A bird brain is only 0.2 to 0.7 ounces.
Well, it's a very much smaller creature, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, how much does your brain weigh?
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Honestly, I'm going to give up reading you reports from my scientific journals. All you do is mock and deride. You're a pathetic individual.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about dogs surfing.
Professor Ona Gunter-Kuchen, right?
If everybody had an ocean across the USA, then everybody'd be surfing like California. You'd see them wearing their baggies, Warachi sandals too, a bushy blonde hair, surfing USA. You'll catch them surfing at now.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up in the next hour, winners and losers, of course. We haven't yet discussed what the Porky quiz is going to be this week, but we'll perhaps get into that a little bit later on. We're going to talk about Nancy Reagan a little while as well, and of course Steve McLaren, the situation at Newcastle. Right now, it's time to talk to Lisa Skolman, who's the organiser of Surfing Dogs competitions.
Excellent.
We've been talking about ravens and crows and how intelligent they can be. You'd have to be a pretty intelligent dog to be able to learn how to surf, I would have thought.
You would, yeah.
Lisa, very good morning to you. Hello, Lisa, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Hi. Sorry, there was a bit of a delay on the phone there. Welcome to the Two Mike Show. Fascinating subject, this. We talk on this show quite a lot about the abilities of dogs and other animals to do things that you might not expect them to do. Tell us a little bit about your dog surfing scenario.
So we have a dog surfing competition that is going to be celebrating its 8th year this year in September. It is a international event. We have competitors from Brazil and hopefully this year somebody from Australia as well.
Okay.
We've had Canadians surf. We have a lot of dogs from all over the U.S. and, of course, from California. They come and surf and compete in the big waves in Huntington Beach.
Is it possible to judge dogs surfing? I know that sounds like a stupid question, but I mean, how much better can one dog be than another one at standing on a surfboard?
Well, we actually have real surf judges, like actual human judges that we hire who who judge actual competitions. They do world surf tours and different things like that. So they actually know what to look for as far as surfing technique. Obviously, that changes a little bit when it comes to dogs, but certain dogs will actually lean certain ways and, look like they're having fun and actually do tricks on the board,
Yeah, it's excellent.
It's a fun thing to see for sure.
Lisa, just tell me one thing. How do the dogs get out to the point where they get onto their surfboard and come back in on a wave? Because a human being, obviously, can swim out, tow his surfboard along with him, and then mount the board when the wave comes in. I mean, the dogs aren't that intelligent that they know when to leap up onto their board as the
great question.
As the waves coming in, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't dog paddle out there. They are with their owners and or dog handlers. Some people have professional launchers, as they call them, but mostly they're out there with their owners. So the owner actually gets a big workout by pushing them out into the wave with them, and then the owner launches them. Sometimes we also have people who tandem with their dog, and so sometimes it'll be a dog and an owner surfing at the same time.
I see. That's brilliant. And the obvious question to ask is, has there ever been a tragedy when a dog has drowned? You know, it might have been hit by the board or something like that. I mean...
No, that's a stupid question.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a very good question, because then you'd get all these people saying, oh, it's cruel, stop it, and all that kind of stuff. But inevitably, these sort of things can happen. That's no reason to stop the dogs doing what they like doing.
Well, knock on wood, and nothing else like that has ever happened. And we take a lot of precautions so that doesn't happen. We have a lot of lifeguards on duty. We have the dogs wearing life vests.
Oh, right.
Wow, where'd you get those from?
We make sure that the surf... Actually, there's a lot of manufacturers that make life vests for dogs, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's
and
really
it makes
good.
it easier on the owner to have a dog on a life vest, because most of them have handles so that if the dog falls off, they can pick it up like a bag and just put it right back on the board.
Sure.
And then the surfboards are made out of soft material, so that not soft material, soft like foam, that if they were to hit another dog, that it's going to hurt, but it's not going to be anything.
So it's more like a sort of
tragic.
what we call a boogie board here. It's a bit more like that.
Yeah, but they're long and they're shaped like a surfboard.
I mean, I don't know. Have you got a dog that you've taught to surf, Lisa?
I have 2 dogs, and I did attempt to teach him to surf.
Yeah.
But one would much rather jump off and chase after balls,
Yeah.
and the other one would much rather hang out on the beach.
Yeah, because I've got a Labrador, you see, and I'm wondering if, even though the surf where he lives is not particularly brilliant, I mean, I was going to ask you, how do you teach a dog to surf, basically?
We have lessons pretty much that start the minute the water gets warm, and we have people that they've taught humans how to surf, and they teach dogs and their humans how to push the dog. And it's a tandem lesson where it's a animal behaviorist that teaches the owner what to look for, to make sure that the dog's having fun and that the owner's having fun, because it's got to be fun for both parties. Otherwise, it's not really worth it.
So, sure. I totally agree. No, Lisa.
Yeah, so they get people comfortable with the water and get the dogs comfortable with water, and there it goes.
Right, that's great. Now, Lisa, tell me this. You're in this business, obviously. It sounds to me like it's great fun and people will warm to it. Who is, or what is the name of, the dog that is the surfing world champion? I mean, who is the Tiger Woods of dog surfing? and tell us a bit about this animal.
Well, last year we actually lost, sadly, one of the best surfing dogs, Tillman, which you guys might be familiar with. Tillman, the bulldog. He won a lot of competitions, and he was actually in the Rose Bowl parade, and he's also famous for skateboarding.
I've seen skateboarding.
So Tillman, Tillman was famous, and he actually passed away this last year, 2015. So as far as the most awarded dog, it's kind of up for grabs this year as to who may take over.
Right.
And be.
Okay, that's interesting.
And is there one particular... I mean, are some dogs better at it than others, I guess is the question. I mean, smaller dogs or bigger dogs or what?
Well, if you don't mind me asking a supplementary to that, because bulldogs...
I'm asking Lisa the question.
But bulldogs don't seem to me to be the most lithe sort of a dog to be on a surfboard. Because bulldogs are slow, ponderous dogs, whereas something like a Labrador or a Spaniel is much faster of foot and sleeker. Don't you agree with me, Lisa?
They're not running on the board, are they? Sorry, Lisa, go on.
There's 2 different kinds. I mean, bulldogs actually, because they have a low center of gravity, they're really good on a surfboard actually.
Yeah.
So they like to balance, and they're pretty good surfers. We have a couple Labradors that are great at it, but a lot of times Labradors just rather swim.
Yeah.
Golden Retrievers are great surfers. We have little Chihuahuas. I mean, it runs a gamut on what kind of dog is going to be really good at it. And there's a lot of rescue dogs that are just little mutts. And it's just, it depends on what you get your dog into when they're young. And if you, the owner, is interested in it as well.
And can we watch this? I mean, I presume it'd be on YouTube or something. But it's in is it in September this year? Or the Surf Dog Championship?
Yes, it's September 25th this year. And you can see videos of it on YouTube from past years.
Okay. Yep.
And we're working on trying to get something more live this year. So
great.
Excellent
stuff. Well, listen, Lisa, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much indeed.
And best of luck with keeping your dogs on a surfboard.
Indeed.
I might try and give that a go at one point. I've got another dog story for you coming up.
Excellent.
In a little while. This is Talk Sport.
Like dogs. Bungana. 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 Professor Thomas Bungana. Bungana.
That's replaced the French guy, hasn't it?
Who?
Chevaunement.
Chevaunement. Well, I mean, I don't understand this. So I produce Chevaunement, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that's so funny. And I produce, Professor Bonganyar. Bonganyar, his name is actually. Properly.
He's not based in Pyongyang.
Yeah, properly. And all I get is ribald laughter, from the ignoramus of the world.
Well,
or the ignoramai.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mites. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, probably around about 5 or 6 hours from now. Now, talking about dogs, by the way. Did you see that story from America, in Minnesota, where apparently a golden retriever actually appeared to drive a lorry
unbelievable.
Across a road?
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's a bit probably stretching the imagination slightly to say he was driving it.
Yes.
But he was in charge of he was sitting at the wheel of this big, massive truck.
He knocked it into gear, didn't he?
Knocked it into gear, and it sort of careered across the street.
Absolutely.
Left what they're calling a trail of destruction.
Trail of destruction.
Yeah. That'll teach
Fall
the
of
guy.
Destruction.
What?
Do you remember that song?
Eve of Destruction.
Eve of Destruction.
Was it Eve of Destruction?
No.
What did you say?
No, I think it's Ball of Destruction.
Ball?
Ball of Destruction.
Ball of Destruction. Is that like the ball of fat that was in your stomach when you were a child?
No, it's not. No.
I was thinking about that the other day.
No, it was one of those great soul groups, Misconstruction.
You see, Ball of Confusion you're talking
Ball
about.
of Confusion, that's the one. What did I say?
Ball of Destruction.
Oh, right, Ball of Confusion. Ball of Confusion.
It's a Temptations.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, it was a good song.
Now, I must read this to you because I meant to read it earlier, but I forgot.
Yes.
Jamie said this.
Yes.
Could the Two Mites please say a happy 40th birthday to my brother Simon?
Yes.
During tonight's show. Apparently he's a massive Evertonian.
Yeah, well, I did
to which
actually...
which somebody said on Twitter, well, if he's a massive Evertonian, perhaps he needs to go on a diet.
Yes,
I did. Like yourself.
I did, not like myself. I did, in fact, retweet out. What was the guy's name again?
His name is... Well, the brother's name is Simon.
Right.
His name is Jamie.
Right, Jamie, thanks for sending us a note, and a very happy birthday to your brother Simon. Hope you are having great days, whether it was yesterday or today, I don't know, but hope it's a great week for all you guys, okay?
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you wanted to tell me about Nancy Reagan earlier.
Well,
which
Nancy
we
Reagan's
didn't manage to
died,
get to.
unfortunately, right.
She has. But she was 90-odd, wasn't she?
Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah. She's over 90. But
well,
she
not
was...
anymore, she's not.
Well, that's a very nice thing to say,
well,
isn't
she's
it?
not, is she? She's dead.
But why don't you show respect for the dead, by
I have
mocking
great
them?
respect for the dead.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know, I thought of you today.
Why?
I was driving to get the kids from school.
I'm not dead, by the way.
No, you're only half dead.
What?
You're only half dead.
That's a bit harsh.
Or a third dead. I was driving
Yeah.
driving to get the kids from school.
Yes.
Going up the high street.
Yeah.
And there was a big traffic jam. And I thought, I wonder
Traffic
what's
jam,
going on here.
yes.
And what I had forgotten, and not really, because I never really noticed it before,
Yeah.
but in the high
Yeah.
street,
Yeah.
down in Battle, there's a funeral directors.
Right.
And guess what was happening?
There was a funeral.
No, but because
Yes.
I don't think the funerals go
Yes.
specifically from there.
Right.
But there was a hearse.
Oh, yes.
Doing like a 3-point turn.
Oh, my God.
In the middle of the high street.
You don't need that, do
with
you?
a coffin in the back of it.
Oh, it's just disgraceful.
And now, whenever I see a hearse,
undignified,
all I can
yeah.
think of is you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all
yeah.
I think about.
Yeah.
Your uncommon fear of of death.
No, I don't fear death at all.
Well, you fear funeral parlours?
Yes, I do. I don't like funeral
Mortuaries?
parlours. Yeah, I don't like mortuaries. Don't like people who can live near to or imagine living in a flat over an undertaker's or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a lot worse things you could live over.
Well, I suppose so,
kebab shop.
I used to live next to a cemetery in Newcastle.
Did you?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the road, but it was in an area called Cochrane Park.
Oh, yeah.
And the number of the house was number 1.
Hey, by the way, was there not another picture that appeared over the weekend of one of your former
I think it did.
dwellings?
It was in Northumberland Street in Wallsend.
Yeah, right.
94.
Somebody went there and took a picture of it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, somebody took a picture of it, and it was exactly, apart from a new front door, it was exactly the little dwelling I remembered. Because what happened was the landlord lived in the downstairs flat, and there was a door next door which took us to the upstairs flat, and we lived above it because the landlord, who was a lovely fella, was a former riveter at Swan Hunters, which was just down the bottom of the road. In fact, those famous pictures from the days when Swan Hunters used to build huge ships of a ship looming over all the terraced houses. It was one of those houses we lived in.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Well, I lived opposite the shipyards in Glasgow.
Right, okay,
and they were still building one
Still
there.
building.
The BAE, I think it was a destroyer or something.
Really, yeah, blimey, yeah, fantastic.
Now, I've had a tweet here from Stephen. He says, we want to see Mike Parry's shirt. So I'm going to take a picture of your shirt.
Why? It's only a shirt.
Because I said it was like a Viella commercial from the 70s.
Take a picture of it, I don't mind.
I'll take it while you're regaling me with your story about Nancy Reagan.
Now, Nancy Reagan, right, amazing. She was 94 when she died.
Yeah.
And really powerful First Lady. But, of course, Ronnie was her second husband, and she was his second wife, if you see what I mean, OK? You've got a picture of the shirt?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
Right, OK. Now, what I wanted to say to you was this.
What do you mean? She was his second wife?
Yes.
And he was her second husband?
Yes.
So they'd both been married before?
Yes, exactly, that's right. Because she was, like, famous...
well, he was married to an actress, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and she was married to somebody else.
Well, she would have been.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Anyway...
Did she marry him before he became governor of California, then?
Yes. She did, yes. They actually came out of Hollywood together, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And got married and then started on the political path, which eventually took them to the White House. Now, what I was going to say to you was, the Nancy Reagan story. I actually broke the story about the fact that a lot of what Ronnie Reagan did was influenced by his wife's intense interest in astrology.
What do you mean you broke the story?
Well, what happened was Terry Willows rang me up from California.
Yes.
Because, of course, you've got to remember, they had huge contacts in California because Reagan had been the governor of California.
He had.
And he had a ranch out there still in Santa Barbara. And, they were like the first couple of California as well as of the United States. And so Terry rang me up and there was a... Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's good. And what happened was there was an astrology magazine which distributed in California.
Yeah.
And he'd spotted this story in which she'd given an interview for the first time. This was after they left power, of course. It was... When was it? It was...
well, he was in for 2 terms.
He was in for 2 terms.
From 1980, wasn't he?
80 to 88, was it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had the Jimmy Carter disaster, and then...
Oh, no, Carter was before that.
Carter was before that,
was 76 to 80.
Yeah, he was, yeah, that's right. And then 2 terms of Reagan.
88 was Bush, wasn't it?
88 to 92 was Bush. And
Senior.
Bush Senior, and then...
Clinton.
And then Billy came along, didn't he? Billy Clinton.
2 terms.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so it was round about then. It was sort of 88, 89, something like that. And Terry Willows rang me up, and anyway, I did the story, and of course, it got worldwide prominence after that. I was the first to spot it.
Yeah.
And to
Are
find.
you sure?
I'm certain.
Well, have you got evidence that you broke the story, the world exclusive in the Daily Express?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Have you got the clipping?
Yes, I have somewhere at home. Yes.
You're going to bring it in.
Well, I don't know if I can find it. I've got thousands of clippings of stories I broke, so it might be difficult to actually find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, point of the story is. What was most interesting was it was Terry Willows who gave me. Now, Terry Willows, of course, was one of our California correspondents.
He was.
When we were all based in New York.
Yeah.
And the interesting story about Terry was he used to work on the National Enquirer, didn't he, down in Florida?
Yeah.
And
there was an incident, wasn't
there? There was an incident. After Elvis died,
–
somebody got into the mortuary and took a picture of Elvis in his coffin.
Was it not him and Noel Botham? Was Noel Botham not involved in that?
I don't know. No, Terry didn't get into the mortuary.
Was it Harry Siskin?
Was
it the photographer Harry Siskin?
I think it was Harry Siskin, was the photographer. What I'm saying is, what happened was that image then became a world famous image.
Yeah.
They then somehow acquired the image.
Yes.
And started.
The Enquirer bought the picture, didn't they? For use in the magazine.
The Enquirer bought the picture for use in the magazine.
Yeah.
They then because in those days there weren't computers. You couldn't just nick it off the internet.
No, yeah.
You had to go and physically get a copy of the picture.
Right.
So you had to, somehow get into the picture library at the Inquirer, get a copy of it, bring it out.
Which contained full, sort of 10 by 8 pictures of everything, right?
Exactly, that's right. And then it was transposed onto a T-shirt. And
pillowcases, I think,
and
as well.
pillowcases. And the idea was to make a fortune of millions selling the image of...
which presumably they could have done.
Well, they could have done, except for the fact...
In terms of the sales.
In terms of the sales. Terry was sitting in his office, in the Inquirer offices, when a man came in, asked him what his name was. He said, who are you? And the man drew a gun on him. He was from the FBI.
Really?
And an inquiry had been started into how the image had been taken from the Inquirer office and suddenly appeared in a commercial domain.
Right.
It was.
So it wasn't the actual copyright of the picture that was in question in terms of who had got it out of the Elvis Memorial Chapel?
No, it was the theft of the image.
Do you think that investigation was started by Generoso Pope then, the owner?
Well, I've no idea. I can't tell you that. But what I know is it was classified as a grade 1, felony.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Blimey.
And Terry actually fainted because nobody had ever pulled a gun on him before.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. And I don't know what his part in it was. I don't know whether he was,
well, he was never prosecuted.
He was never prosecuted, as far as I know. So whether he was just because he was in the office at the time, or somebody had sort of, I don't know, mischievously put his name forward as a potential suspect or something like that. I don't know. But I mean, that's a pretty shocking thing to have happened. And then after that, he went back to California, didn't I, and did the job there. But anyway, that was my part in the revelation that Nancy Reagan used astrology to influence President Ronald Reagan. I mean, I know an awful lot about an awful lot of American presidents, really, when you think about it, don't I? Why don't we do the quiz on
American presidents?
No, not on the Reagans. On the Reagans.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Quiz on the Reagans. Yeah,
because
good.
We've done American presidents in the past, haven't we?
Yes, I think we might have done.
So we'll do the Reagans.
The Reagans. Okay.
Yeah,
sounds
definitely.
like a deal to me.
Good.
Got a lot of good reaction to your shirt.
Oh, yes?
I'll read out some of those coming up next.
Well, you only just put that out.
Yeah, well, we've got a very quick audience.
Amazing.
Make sure you're ahead of the game and listen to Kick-Off on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Tonight from 7, get in-depth analysis, heavyweight pundit opinion, and outspoken fan reaction on the nation's most passionate pre-match football forum.
You won't miss a trick, flick or kick of any of the action.
Plus, hear the latest form and odds ahead of all the matches that matter from 888 Sport's On The Ball Bet Spurt. Kick-Off, weeknights from 7 on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Please gamble responsibly.
Time for a new 16-plate van. Time for a Mercedes-Benz Citan, Vito or Sprinter. How about 0% APR and a service plan for just £10 a month across the whole model range? There's never been a better time than this March to drive away with a new 16-plate Mercedes-Benz van. Clock's ticking. Find out more at mbvans.co.uk. Business users only. Hire purchase only. Maximum term 36 months. Minimum deposit 20%. VAT at 20% applies. Credit approvals by 31st of March 2016. Mercedes-Benz Finance.
Even if you are driving high, you've got no reason to be pulled over, have you? It's not like the weed is affecting you. Anyway, you know these roads, and the police can't tell you're stoned, can they? It's not like your eyes are red or you're acting a bit strange. You'll be fine. Except if you get pulled over, the roadside swab will be able to tell that you've done drugs on the spot, leading to a criminal record, a minimum 12-month driving ban, and a large fine. Think. Don't take drugs and drive.
Get Cheltenham ready with a £10 free bet from William Hill. Simply bet £20 or more on tonight's Real Madrid versus Roma Champions League game and get a £10 free bet next Wednesday for day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Applies to both pre-match and in-play singles bets on tonight's match. Available to all William Hill customers online and on mobile. Get Cheltenham ready now with William Hill. Qualifying bets must be at odds of 1 to 2 or greater and not cashed in. Free bet available by 9 a.m. on the specified race day and must be used on a single £10 bet on a Cheltenham Festival race that day. Free bet stake not included in any returns. Terms and conditions apply. Over 18s only. When the fun stops, stop.
Hawksby and Jacobs.
She'd be happy with a cardboard box.
This afternoon from 1.
Fair enough. I'll see if I can get you one next time.
Talk Sport.
Later this month, we're launching a new 24-hour sports radio station. TalkSport 2 is going to bring you coverage of live sport, including rugby, cricket, tennis, golf, football and horse racing, plus some US sport as well. The very first TalkSport 2 broadcast will take place live from Sky Bet's box at the Cheltenham Festival on Tuesday the 15th of March, and thanks to Sky Bet, you can be there.
Indeed you can. Now then, if you'd like to join the new TalkSport 2 team for their first show, the Cheltenham Festival Late Breakfast, so I assume that's sort of from 10 o'clock onwards, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, no, 8 o'clock maybe?
Late breakfast.
Yeah, late breakfast anyway, with full hospitality treatment at Cheltenham for the day. Go to talksport.com/win. Sorry, I'll repeat that. Go to talksport.com/win and enter now. And don't forget to retune your DAB radio so you don't miss out on our array of exciting new stations.
Yeah, go to talksport.com/retune for more details. We'll have a late breakfast at Cheltenham then.
Well, I was going to say, I think they should have told us what time the late breakfast is, because breakfast...
Well, we'll have a word with them, shall we?
Yeah, breakfast is normally sort of 6 till 10 or something like that.
I'll tell them you're most displeased.
No, I'm not displeased. I like to be informative to our listeners. If they're going to enter the competition, they've got to know exactly what they're bidding for as a prize, OK?
Well, it's late breakfast. I'm sure people will understand. Now,
well, we get there actually at about midday.
Oh, really?
We're on the old first-class train from Paddington.
Yeah.
We get there midday.
Bottle of champagne on the train?
For yourself, I don't drink champagne, of course. Only one third of my heart works, and I have to watch the bubbles in my heart. Yeah. Now, what I was going to say is that when we get to Cheltenham, there's a boozer just round the corner.
From the station, yes.
Yeah, do you remember last year?
Yeah,
we
had
a couple
I think we got there earlier last year, though, didn't we?
I think we got there about 11 last year.
Because I thought we took a train about 8-ish last time.
Yes, we did. I'm sure we did. But that's because we came straight from here.
That's true.
At 6 o'clock. We decided to give ourselves a break of an hour this year.
Yes.
But what I was going to say is, this year, when we've had a couple of pints in the pub around the corner, we will, in fact, then take a bus to the track and not a taxi. You insisted on taking a taxi last year.
Well, Why don't we get a bus?
No, I said to you...
What do you want to get a bus for?
I'll tell you why, because the taxi goes into a traffic queue, right? And it took us like 40 minutes.
But there's no bus lane, is there?
There is a bus lane. The buses get flagged right the way through and take 10 minutes, yeah.
Really?
I told you that last year, but, being a snob that you are, I'm a man of the people, you wouldn't get on a bus.
Really?
We're getting on a bus this year,
man of the people.
We're doing a stint on H&J at about 2:15.
Well, I might have to do a sort of a video blog of the day, like I did when we went to Bournemouth.
I think we should indeed. And we've got lots of people to meet. If you want us to come and join you in your box and sample your grog, just give us a shout.
Yeah, the earlier the better, obviously, because if it's a bit late in the afternoon, we're not quite sure we can be responsible for what happens. Now, how about this from Anonymous? He says, another shirt that looks like a dish towel.
That's very nice. I thought you said there was some nice responses.
I didn't say that.
Shirt.
Paul says Gingham, as worn by nurses. This is a nice one from Omar. He says, looking great, the conquering Lion of Chester.
Thank you.
Looking forward to your dismantling of old MG winners and losers.
Absolutely, you bet.
Colin says, have you come in your pyjamas tonight?
Oh, that's very nice.
Ashley says, looks like he's wearing some curtains from a charity shop.
Yeah.
Moz says, picnic blanket. Paul says, it looks like a tea towel.
Yeah.
Graham says, rubbish curtains.
Yeah. Well,
Abdul, on the other hand, says, fantastic shirt. Porky could be a fashion expert.
Of course I could.
If he wants to be.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Not sure about that.
Right. Now then, what we talk about is a situation which is arising.
A situation which is arising where?
Yeah. That is... what I found out is
why are you repeating everything? You like Jimmy 2 times?
No.
Get the papers. The papers.
You know that the expression is often used. This comes from one of my medical journals, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The expression is often used that you can die of a broken heart.
People have said that.
Yeah. Do you know you can also die of a joyous heart?
Joyous heart.
Yes.
Well, I've seen that there's a story around that says that actually being happy is not necessarily good for you.
Exactly, that's right. A condition is thought to affect 6,000 people in Britain each year. And
what do you mean they actually die?
Extreme stress causes the heart to shut down.
Extreme stress?
Yeah. But extreme stress can, in fact, be celebration and joy.
Really?
Most cases...
Well, I suppose if you're... you hear stories all the time, don't you, of people who have got so excited that there's goals being scored that they could actually collapse.
Exactly.
But that's not the same as dying of a joyous heart.
No, it is. The definitive research has been done. Listen to this. Most cases of broken heart syndrome, as it is known, are caused by sudden emotional shocks, often involving bereavement, breakdown of a relationship, moving house and it's all gone wrong or something like that. But a major Swiss research project has found that joyful events can also lead to heart failure, complete heart failure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I suffered initially from acute heart failure, which is not complete heart failure, but it's nearly, if you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah. But, I mean, nobody believes you anymore. You know, I have successfully questioned you enough times to make out that, whatever you were suffering from could not possibly have been what you were suffering from.
It was.
Because you wouldn't be able to live the way you live now.
No, it was acute heart failure. And
I don't believe you.
I live with dilated cardiomyopathy, and it could go at any time.
That bit I can understand. That bit I can understand.
Now then,
but you don't seem to be very concerned about it.
Well, I have to live with a smile on my face. I can't be walking around constantly worrying if I'm going to drop dead. Because if I did that, then, I'd have to worry about all sorts of things.
Would you?
Like, watching out going downstairs in case I suddenly died and fell forward and all that kind of stuff. Now then, major Swiss research project, joyful events can lead to heart failure. Happy heart syndrome has now been identified, OK?
Rubbish.
Happy heart syndrome. Problem occurs when the heart is overwhelmed by a storm of adrenaline, because, of course, joy sometimes triggers adrenaline.
When was the last time you were joyous?
Last time I was joyous?
I don't think you've been joyous for many a year.
Hang on, last time I was joyous. I reckon the last time I was joyous, actually, good question, was probably about 8 years ago.
Yeah, something to do with Everton.
No, I went on holiday to Cornwall for a week with my two sisters.
Oh, yeah.
And
St Ives?
St Ives, that's right, yes.
And back to your old stomping ground?
Yes, that's right, yeah. And that was joyous because it was a very stress-free week.
Was it?
Yes, but everything else...
that's unusual because normally if you go on holiday with family, it can actually be more stressful.
No, with my two sisters...
Funnily enough, we were talking about this because some people go away because, I'm looking at villas in various different places.
Right.
And there are some ridiculously expensive villas, right?
Yes.
There was one...
This is for the summer, you're going away?
In the summer, I found one villa... £12,000 a week.
Wow.
Right? But it has like 10 bedrooms. So what people do is they say, 6 or 7 or 8 couples will go away together.
Yes.
And I can't imagine anything worse.
No, I can't.
The less people I have on holiday with me, the better.
I tell you.
And if you were even with my sister and I get on pretty well.
Yes.
But even we end up having a row.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's just, it's just what happens.
She wants to do one thing, you want to do another.
Well, something goes wrong.
No, I can't stand all. I really can't stand all this, it's like communal blinking eating and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
But that's why I'm surprised you were joyous. Yeah. Not that your sisters are not wonderful people.
Oh, no, it was great.
But I can't imagine you getting on with them for that long.
Oh, I do. They're the only people in the world I do get on with,
really?
Funnily enough, yeah. And they have the hotel we go to, they have a bungalow in the grounds. The 2 bedrooms that they share, and I have a room in the hotel.
Oh, so just the 3 of you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no partners or anything?
No. They left their husbands at home, and which is great. They wanted to get away.
Did you, for old time's sake, go to the fun fair so they could sit on one of the rides and just leave you standing there?
Ridiculous question. Ridiculous.
Because that would be great. I would love to see that.
Oh, would you? Yeah.
This is what we used to do when you were little.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Anyway, listen, what I'm telling you is the study by researchers at University Hospital Zurich, right? There's an awful lot of foreign hospitals doing research at the moment, isn't there?
Well, I think they constantly do research, it's just that you're only finding out about it.
And they had this piece published in the European Heart Journal, which, of course, is...
Is that the one you were featured in?
That's the one I subscribe to.
No, but I mean, when you went and spoke to the German experts, do you remember?
It might have been, I don't know. It was written in German, the one that I was in, so I wouldn't have been able to understand it. I don't speak German. Now, it's based on 1,750 patients with a condition known as Takotsubo syndrome, right?
Is that something to do with that woman that won Britain's Got Talent?
No, it's Takotsubo, Takot, Subo syndrome. And definite emotional triggers could be identified in 96% of the cases, right?
What?
Yeah, 96% of the cases.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying these people had joyous heart syndrome.
Oh, what, they died?
Well, they didn't die, but they nearly did.
Oh.
And Takotsubo syndrome is so called because the word means... I don't know what the relevance of this is. The word means octopus pot in Japanese.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'm not actually sure why.
So is that the kind of thing you'd order in a Japanese restaurant then? Can I have the octopus pot?
No. It relates to the fact that you can have a distorted left ventricle of the heart, and
I hate that.
And when you get a distorted left ventricle of the heart, it turns into the same shape as the octopus pot.
Really?
Yeah. The condition strikes suddenly, causes the heart chamber to balloon out at the bottom.
To what?
But the neck remains narrow.
Causes it to what?
Balloon out.
Right.
Balloon out at the bottom. So, now, Dr. Alexandra Leon, world-leading expert on Takotsubo syndrome. Didn't know you could have an expert on that, really.
No.
Said, when adrenaline... What is your problem?
I can just see this vision of Susan Boyle in front of me. I don't know why.
Why? Takotsubo. Well, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Have you just got that?
Yeah, I only just got it, yeah.
I've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, I'll just conclude this. When the adrenaline goes to these really high levels, the heart shuts down to protect itself. But in some cases, slams on the brakes too hard. Result, death.
Sorry. Coming up next is winners and losers.
What is your problem?
Quite fortunate in recent weeks. The gerrymandering seems to have been brought down to a dull roar. Not too much illegal activity going on with the voting procedures and all of that, so I think everybody's pretty happy about it. It's very tight, of course, 5-4 to me at the moment. Would you like to go first with your winners or first with your losers?
Let me see. I think I will go first with my losers, OK?
OK, that means you go first now, then.
Right, OK.
Well, away you go.
OK, well, listen, I'm going to nominate as my first loser, and... You know, I'll get a few brickbats here from Evertonians, I suppose, but I do feel very strongly about this. Kevin Morales sent off...
he was one of mine, actually.
OK.
But I'll change it, don't worry.
OK, Kevin Morales sent off, as an Everton player, two very silly offences. But the first one, the yellow card for simulation, we've got to knock simulation out of the game. And, you know, I'm awfully sorry, but he has... You know, he's disgraced the club, really, and himself, but more the profession of football, and managers must clamp down on this. Now, that brings me to my second loser.
Yes.
My second loser is Andre Mariner, the referee in the Crystal Palace-Liverpool game, for awarding a penalty to Benteke when he clearly simulated, in my view...
No, he didn't.
Not everybody agrees with me.
Well, not the linesman, either.
Well, but I'm sorry, but I believe... Well, you say that,
The linesman said it's a penalty.
Dermot Gallagher, who is an expert referee and a consultant referee now for many media organisations, including ours, said it definitely wasn't a penalty. Andrew Mariner goes and awards the penalty. That, again, a second one related to simulation. Simulation is going to kill the game.
Very obvious.
For two reasons. No, they're not obvious at all. For two reasons. I am nominating Everton player as a loser. That in itself is very unusual. Secondly, a referee, I really respect Andrew Mariner. I'm sorry he's a loser because he extends the simulation. And my third loser, and again, this might sound a bit obvious, but it's one specific remark, is Steve McLaren. And it's Steve McLaren because when asked at his after-match press conference, when again Newcastle got battered this week, do you expect to be in charge of your next game? I think they're playing Leicester. He said, I don't see any reason why. I don't see any reason why not. I really
this
don't.
This is notwithstanding the fact that there was a board meeting held of which he is a member without him.
In York. So just to get away from it, you know, they all live in Newcastle. They decide, we'll have a board conference. Oh, right, where will that be then? At the ground? No, we'll have it in York. Why? Because we're not telling Steve about it.
Right.
And top of the agenda, should we sack Steve McLaren, a board member who also happens to be the manager? Well, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be in charge next week. Hey, kid. So they're my three losers, Kevin Morales, Andre Mariner and Steve McLaren.
OK, not bad at all. My first loser of the weekend is Conor McGregor. He is the UFC champion, of course, at one weight, but decided to move up a few weights to see whether he could win that, because he thought that he was the big I am. He actually is a guy who thought he was bigger than the sport. He thought he was bigger than any other fighter in the game. And it was a risk that he never needed to take. And as a result of which, he's now going to fall from grace for a little while. He'll probably come back at some point. But he got beaten really pretty straightforwardly by his opponent, and basically he portrayed himself. He portrayed himself as the next Muhammad Ali. Now this guy is massive, Make no mistake.
Who is this guy again?
This is a guy, Conor McGregor. He's from Dublin. He was going to win the much bigger weight, 145-pound fighter, which is what he is. He's a champion at that. He wanted something grander. He wanted something like the biggest name in sport, and he got it wrong. And Nate Diaz basically put him to the sword, and I think he's never going to be the same again. That's my first loser of the week. weekend.
Okay.
Now, I was going to have Kevin Morales. And I'm not going to have Kevin Morales.
Yes.
But I'm going to have Everton, I'm afraid. Everton losing, once again, not just losing a 2-0 lead, but losing 3 points into the bargain. You'd have to say, it may have started with Kevin Morales, but it ended with yet another appalling display and a terrible lack of discipline and concentration, to which you have to lay at the door, really, of Roberto Martinez.
Very harsh.
And that's my second loser. My third loser, along the same lines, is Juan Mata. Just when Manchester United were being talked up as coming up on the inside rail and taking over Manchester City as the fourth team in the Champions League. Juan Mata, similar to Kevin Morales, has like 3 minutes of complete and utter madness, where he commits 2 fouls and gets sent off. And you just think, what on earth was he thinking? So those are my 3 losers. Everton, Juan Mata and Conor McGregor.
Okay,
let us do the winners.
Indeed.
Everyone's a winner, baby, that's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
This is Talk Sport. Time for the winners now, because we haven't got an awful lot of time. You took so much time to do your losers.
No, I didn't.
There. Now I'm going to do my 3 winners straight off. My first winner of the weekend is Andy Murray. Now, you may have missed this, but this is a man who has not played proper tennis since the Australian Open. He's been spending time with his new family and his baby and all the rest of it, right? It's the first real proper sort of performance since then. And he's been in the Davis Cup, and he had equalled the longest match of his career at the weekend, which is the 2012 US Open final win against Novak Djokovic, right? He managed to win against Kei Nishikori 7-5, 7-6, 3-6, 4-6, 6-4. Match took 4 hours and 54 minutes. And I can tell that you're not interested in this at all.
Well, it's a bizarre winner, that one.
But once again, why is it a bizarre winner? It gets Britain once again into the Davis Cup quarter-finals, right? The guy looked dead on his feet, but he somehow managed to come through and win it. So he's also overtaken Fred Perry to set up a new British record of 14 consecutive Davis Cup wins. So I want to propel him into the winner's circle. My second winner of the weekend is Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling, a man that you have constantly castigated just because you made a rather foolish prediction that he wouldn't score as many as 5 goals in the Premier League. He's already scored 6.
And 6 of course, all season. And you think that's a winner?
Well, I think he's a winner for beating your prediction.
At £8 million a goal?
Yeah, I think he's still a winner for beating
£8 million a goal
for your prediction. But, I mean, he hasn't finished playing this season yet. So, I mean, it might end up being a lot more than that. And my final winner
so far,
my final winner of the weekend is Neil Warnock. You know why? Because Neil Warnock was hired by Rotherham United, right? To try and keep them up. And he's been there a very, very short amount of time. He's on a big bonus, I'm led to believe, if he does manage to keep them up. And so far, in the last 2 games, he's managed to get 2 wins out of them, right? Including against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend, which is one of his old clubs, of course, right? So Rotherham are now on 32 points, 2 from the bottom. But I think they're going to stay up, and I think Mr. Warnock will have done his job very well. So Neil Warnock and Rotherham winners, along with Andy Murray and, of course, Raheem Sterling. Those are mine.
Okay, my winners. And I'm going to be totally magnanimous here. Slaven Bilic, the West Ham manager. 2-0 down.
What is this kind of false show of humility that you're trying?
2-0 down.
This is some new technique, right?
2-0 down at Everton. Nearly went 3-0 down, but Lukaku missed the penalty. He then comes back. He gets a team to come back, puts enough self-belief in them to win 3-2, and he's done a fantastic job at West Ham, and they have a very, very realistic chance now of finishing in the top 4.
And now you want him to be the next Everton manager?
No, I don't.
You mentioned that to Adrian Heath.
Rubbish.
You did?
Rubbish. I want...
He asked you who, and you said Slaven Bilic.
I said Slaven Bilic is a great manager. I didn't say I wanted to be an Everton's manager. We've got a great manager, thank you. My second winner, and this is the one I think will clinch it for me, clinch the whole competition for me, Dagenham and Redbridge. After 11 months, 17 games, 12 defeats and 4 draws, Dagenham won their first game at home this season.
Did they?
They are bottom of Division 2. So
they're winners then?
They are the very bottom club in the whole of the Football League, OK? Of the 92 clubs in the Premier League and the Football League, they're bottom. But they beat York City 1-0 with a goal in the 78th minute by the lad Passley. And Passley.
What's his first name?
His first name is David Passley. And for that reason...
Are you sure?
I'm certain. For that reason, For that reason, I have to nominate them as winners. So Slaven Bilic, Dagenham Redbridge, and my third winner, and this is to add a bit of showbiz glitz to what really has been a very, very heavily populated football programme, winners and losers. It's Michael Crawford, because he's just completed making the new episode of Some Others Do Have 'Em, right? One of the most popular TV shows of all time.
How old is he now, then?
He's 70, over 70, but 72. One of the most famous and illustrative of comedies in which he took chances all the time, hanging from clocks, getting on skis, being pulled behind cars. He's done all of that again, riding around on the roof of a Morris Minor to make a new series of Some Others Do Have Them. I commend my choices, both winners and losers, to the House.
Thank you very much indeed. That's winners and losers. Go to at the two mics on.
In my disco era, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
When I used to go like the King's Disco in Chester and all that kind of stuff. The DJs always used to put loads of soul music on to get the girls in and get them on the dance floor and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that was why I liked it, because it was always synonymous with me of opportunity time, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I would never buy a soul record or take it home or anything like that. You know what I mean? Not unless I was entertaining a young lady and felt like, you know, she needed a bit of sort of encouragement through the music. You know what I mean?
Barry White, yeah. Now, a couple of people have pointed out that you've got the name wrong of Mr. Pasley.
Yes.
Ashley says it's not David, it's Joshua.
Of course it is.
You said it was David.
No, I didn't. No, you pressed me for a Christian name.
I asked you what his first name was.
Yeah, and I said,
I didn't think you knew.
I said maybe David, but it is Joshua. It is definitely Joshua. Yeah.
William says this: Porky just cost me £50 putting an Everton player as a loser. Don't hold any grudge against him, but vote MG this time, he says.
No, got to vote Porky. Why has the guy lost £50?
Well, he probably had a bet with someone that you would not ever put Everton in as losers.
Well, I didn't put Everton as losers. I put in an Everton player who foolishly simulated, an alleged infringement, which didn't happen.
You didn't put Ross Barkley when he did it.
Well, Ross Barkley's a young man who will earn his stride. Kevin Morales thinks he's a senior, he's a Belgian international, a senior professional, and his simulation was so ludicrous because he leapt in the air across the back of a player and claimed he'd been chopped down. It was silly. It was
Glenn
really
says
silly.
Definitely old MG today on winners and losers. Porky's lost the plot. Who's Andrew Mariner?
Andre Mariner.
Andrew Mariner.
I said Andre.
He's asking who's Andrew.
No.
Ian says, just think Andy Murray played 3 games in 3 days, which was about 9 hours top tennis, and football players can't play 2 games in a week.
Yeah, well, that's because they use a lot more muscles, really, than tennis players. But anyway,
I don't think so.
We'll
tennis
over that one.
is the game that you have to have the most stamina for.
I think
I'd
squash
say
is.
tennis and boxing, probably.
Yeah.
Here's one from Robbie. Rob, who says, has Porky lost it again? Michael Crawford and Dagenham and Redbridge as winners.
Yeah,
really?
Dagenham and Redbridge to win at home for the first time in 11 months. I think that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Here's one from Roy. I was going to vote for you, Porky, but you made Dagenham and Redbridge as winners. I can't vote for a team that beat my York City FC.
Oh, well, you see, that's a personal one, That's a personal grudge.
And there's one from Brian, who says, Porky, what are you doing? You started off good with your losers, and then it went downhill.
What do you mean? It didn't. It didn't at all. I think I got it completely right. And you've got to remember that on 2 occasions I nominated either an Everton player or a man who'd been in charge of a victory over Everton in both categories. I thought I was magnanimous, absolutely magnanimous.
What?
Magnanimous.
Nanimous.
Yes, yeah.
Not magnanimous.
Magnanimous. That's what I said.
You could hardly say it. Current voting is 87 votes, 49% to me, 51% to you.
Thank you. Hey, keep that up, kids.
So
keep it up.
We'll see how that's going. We haven't got anything yet. We haven't got any extra add-ons this week, have we?
No.
Last week we had a separate add-on.
Yeah.
But we got a couple more things to talk about
before
the final bell tolls.
Yeah.
And we've agreed to do a quiz this week on the Reagans.
Yeah, on the
Nancy
Reagans.
and Ron.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
You like that one, do you?
I like that, yeah, that's Jefferson Starship, right?
Jefferson Starship after
right.
Jefferson Airplane, yeah.
That's right, and the reason that we played that is to highlight the word city, Now, did you know this fascinating fact that if Leicester City get through and win the Premier League title this season...
Which may now happen by the looks of things.
Well, I think it's looking increasingly likely.
Yeah.
5-point lead, and are they going to blow that after, they've held on to things so well?
With every week that passes, you think something else is going to happen.
Yes.
Like were Tottenham going to go top twice?
Yep.
No, they didn't.
Yep.
They get a draw. Were City going to get closer? No, they haven't. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Really?
It is absolutely amazing. But anyway, the reason the word City is so prominent is that if Leicester City do win it, they will be only the second team in the history of football in this country with the word City after the name of their town
it is a
to win
fascinating,
the top title.
It is a fascinating...
The only other one, of course, being Manchester City.
Yeah, it's a fascinating statistic because when you think about it, there's not that many teams in the Premier League called City. There's Stoke City, Swansea City. I think that's it. Manchester City, Leicester City.
Yeah.
And then even when you go down further...
Like Coventry City.
Yeah, Coventry, Birmingham. I mean, there's not that many teams actually called City.
No.
So it's a very good fact, that.
It is indeed. And you're absolutely right, by the way, about Spurs, because our friend John Sims, who very kindly invites us into his box when Everton play at White Hart Lane, and who, when we went there and drew 0-0 earlier in the season, there was still an awful lot of cynicism among the Spurs fans, wasn't there? Oh, we've got a draw against Everton. Oh, well, I suppose that's all right. They didn't realise you're going to have such a brilliant season. And there was still a lot of doubt about whether Mr. Pochettino was, going to be the saviour that they hoped he would be.
Yeah, but I mean, over a week ago, he was. And he was going to be the coming man, wasn't he?
I was about to say to you, I texted John last Saturday morning because Spurs were playing at West Ham. Was it Saturday?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday. The early game?
When they played, it was Arsenal.
Arsenal, sorry.
Arsenal was on Saturday. It was the early game, yeah.
Arsenal was on Saturday, the early game. Thank you. Yes, sorry. So I texted him and I said, good luck. No, well, hang on, what I'm talking. They've dropped 5 points in the last 2 games.
Well, they played 2 games and got 1 point.
Yeah.
Lost to West Ham.
Lost to West Ham, exactly, that's right.
Drew with Arsenal.
So it was the West Ham game.
We haven't got a lot of time for
this.
The
West Ham game, that was a night game, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And I texted him and I said, hi, John.
That was last Wednesday.
That was last Wednesday.
Why are you confusing that with Saturday?
Because the 2 games, they only got 1 point out of 6. And I texted him last Wednesday and I said, hi, John. I said, best of luck tonight. You could go top of the Premier League. And you've got a fantastic team there. Wish you the best of luck and hope you have a great season. And he texts back, so I'm already at the ground. It's so exciting, can't wait. And so I must have put the curse on him because they got 1 point that
night.
It's
the Porky jinx, no question.
And they lost in the following game.
Well, to be honest, you did say earlier that week that you thought Tottenham were going to win the league.
Sorry, they lost that night and they drew in the following game, yeah.
For heaven's sake.
Sorry, go on.
I mean, we haven't got time for all of this correction.
Right. Go on.
It took you about 3 minutes to figure out which day was Wednesday and which day was Saturday.
It did, yeah.
Now, speaking of Leicester and Tottenham, did you see that story about how Leicester City stars were turned away from a nightclub in London? And as they were standing there...
Why was that? Because nobody recognised
Well, I
them?
think so, yeah.
Good
it was Danny Drinkwater, Andy King, Matty James and Ben Hamer.
My
they were trying to get into a club called Drama.
Drama.
Which is in Mayfair on Saturday night, right? Yeah. But what made things worse was just as they were standing there and being told, we're terribly sorry, gentlemen, we can't let you in, they were asked to step aside to let 3 other guys in who were Hugo Lloris, Eric Dyer and Nathan Chadley.
Good God.
So they had to watch these Tottenham guys going in. I mean, that must give them even more kind of fire,
I would say
to win the Premier League.
I mean, you really can describe that as karma, can't you? The people who are probably going to be the Premier League champions told to step aside for the, what are they called in Shakespearean language?
What, the
pretenders.
The pretenders. Well, I don't know which way round you might put it, but I guess we'll find out in due course.
We certainly
will. There's only a few games left to go now.
Now,
very exciting winners and losers. Some people are saying they're rubbish. They're all rubbish. Some people are correcting me that Neil Warnock was never the Sheffield Wednesday boss. I thought I'd said Sheffield United, to be honest.
Yes.
But the fact is that he went back to Sheffield, where...
you got that completely wrong.
Well, it's not that I got it completely wrong. It's just that it was misconstrued. But anyway, you can vote for Mr. Parry or myself until midnight tonight. If, of course, it's declared a draw, then we will come up with some other plan.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne, podcast from the two mice. Professor Ona Gunterkuchen, right? Professor Thomas Bonganar. So I thought I was magnanimous, absolutely magnanimous.
What?
Magnanimous.
Nanimous.
Yes, yeah.
Not magnanimous.
Magnanimous, that's what I said.
You could hardly say it.